Avatar, is it on? Oh, I turned it on. Okay. Avatar Meher Baba Ki Jai. So, we have until another 2 hours. I was going to spend about another hour looking at certain talks and certain passages to get a sense of the content and flavor of the book. So here's an interesting one. Let's see. Where are we? So this is the talk of 7th of October, 1926. And there were several of these talks that involved people from the outside, people who weren't Baba's Mandali or close lovers, and this is one of them. And this had to do with politics and the Swaraj movement. And here, Baba was visited. In fact, I'll read some of it. This man is Shivram Paranjape. I don't know if you've heard of him. He was quite famous. From the 1890s, he was one of the passionate, eloquent advocates for Indian independence. I think he was a writer and a very fiery speaker. And he might have been urging violent revolution for a while, but he joined up with Mahatma Gandhi and Gandhi's movement. So remember in the 1920s, the Swaraj movement was in full force. And Gandhi was widely recognized as the leader of it. So there was a lot of political interest at the time. And some among Baba's followers were involved in it too. You know, naturally it happens. People take interest in the politics of their time. Actually, Erich's uncle, Nasaran, was much connected with Gandhi and the Swaraj movement. And he comes into these Tiffin lectures also. There's one or two of them that are addressed largely to him. But this particular one involved a group of people who were canvassing. In fact, I'll just read it. So this is quite he would have been a very well-known figure at the time, a very celebrated independent Swaraj movement advocate. He would, in history books, he would certainly have a place. A small group of 4 or 5 energetic and enthusiastic workers of the Swaraj party dropped in today. By the way, in Chanji's diaries, he often leaves out the names because I think they envisioned publishing a book back at this time. In fact, they were working towards the publication of a book, it looks like. And I think in such a book, they would have left out names for obvious reasons. But now it's 100 years later, so I put the names back in. We found it in the diaries. Their numbers included a Dr. Paranjape, editor of Kal, and another editor of an illustrated Marathi magazine. I don't know who this was, but we're talking about distinguished people, right? These editors of magazines were very influential figures at the time. I think Vivekananda's brother was another of that group who was editing some publication for the Swaraj movement. They happened by en route from another city, where they had been canvassing for votes for a candidate in the forthcoming election. Okay, now Chanji doesn't say this, but this would be my guess, that a lot of the reason they came was because they heard there was a new up-and-coming master with a large following, and they wanted to get his blessings so that they could go to the next port of call and say, Shri Sadguru Meher Baba gave us his blessings, and like that, so to advance their cause. It's only natural. That's what I strongly suspect that they came for, or at least part of it. And when you come to the avatar for these sorts of things, you get something else. Okay, after touching upon general topics, the conversation turned to Swaraj and what India and Indians should do for its attainment. The party leaders, in their eagerness to impress upon Shri the importance and value of their work and the interest they took in it, betrayed their self-interested motives, which is to say, their party politics. Whereupon, Shri imparted to the group of them some sound and severe advice, writing on his slate, now look at how blunt Baba was. I mean, okay, it would have been natural for an ordinary man approached by people like this to speak in sweet, dulcet tones, and if not to flatter them, at least not to offend them, right? Wouldn't that be normal? I mean, if somebody came to the board of the Hyderabad group or the Andhra group who was on the top ranks of Andhra or Telangana politics, you would speak nicely, right? It would be a normal way. Well, Baba was not rude, but he was completely straight. He didn't hide his views at all. So here you get this. Baba, he's telling this to a bunch of politicians. Baba says, what is politics after all but fraud? Telling this to people getting votes. Whatever may be your own honest and candid opinion, you are obligated to proceed according to the creed of your party, even against the voice of your own conscience. And thus, you become dependent upon others in your activities, a practice which violates against the fundamental principle of truth. I mean, it's beautiful. It is just true. He told them completely the straight truth, Now, one of the things that strikes me is among political movements, this is a very elevated one. I mean, we had Gandhi, great man, genuinely great man. The principles they were advocating were high, elevated, and noble. Within the political sphere, you don't do much better than these sorts of people. But Baba just told them the truth, You wind up having to vote the party line and going against the voice of your own conscience. Shri impressed upon them all that in whatever you do, don't go against your conscience. Follow its dictates, come what may. And he who succeeds in this comes nearer to true Swaraj. So now Baba is going to start asking the question, what does Swaraj really mean? Self-control then can be achieved through any amount of the sham and show of party politics, congresses, and conferences. This said to people who are spending their life doing exactly this. Then one of them asked a question, will India attain Swaraj? And if so, when? Okay, now Baba's not going to leave this question where it is. Shri answered with a question of his own. What do you mean by Swaraj? Political independence, replied the inquirer. Then Shri explained the whole subject in clear and beautiful terms. And now we have his own Chanji's write-up of account of what he said. By Swaraj, what I mean, this is Baba now, is the gaining of truth. That truth which is already the property and birthright of everyone. What I mean, in other words, is spiritual independence. As for political independence, no doubt India will get it in the future. You need not worry about it. The very thing there. And Baba actually did support Indian independence, as a matter of fact. This political Indian independence is easily won, but real spiritual independence, that is achieved only with great difficulty. Hence, my advice to you all is seek that truth which will give you everlasting bliss and real knowledge, gyan, thus enabling you to raise others as you have been raised and to save them from the entanglements of the world. Anything sought in connection with external affairs is mere foolishness from the point of view of realized persons who have actually seen the truth and become one with everlasting existence, as compared with those who have learned merely through reading and hearing. And I don't know what this last sentence means. Within 10 years, India will enjoy extraordinary freedom. Well, if you know what that means, please tell me. I don't. But again, this to me shows this is the avatar. You may come to the avatar with a great and noble cause. You may be these are probably genuinely great men. I don't doubt it. Famous men, important men of the world, what is that to the avatar? It's nothing. So he simply told them the truth about political pursuit. Mm-hmm. What's that, about 10 years? 1936, so I don't know. Independence was 20 years, so 47. Yeah, it must be. Baba must have been speaking in his own language, I would think. Right. Yeah, so look at what else what Baba did. Baba was not insulting them. He wasn't, He was courteous. But in the process, he told them what real Swaraj is, which is mastery of yourself, conquering yourself, not being a slave of your desire nature. So he gave them something much better than they came asking for. So there, in the Tiffin lectures, there are various stories like this. In fact, it's not on the topic of politics, but there are a couple things. There's one other talk that deals with the Indian independence movement to a certain extent. And one of the things that Baba makes the point of is that the only kind of freedom that cannot be lost is spiritual freedom. Every other kind of freedom, you can get it for a while, but then you can lose it. It's temporary. Only spiritual freedom is the real freedom at the core of all others. But here's another. I won't go to the page, but I'll just recount it. There was a Brahmin from Ahmednagar. Baba doesn't mention who it is, but he would come to see Baba from time to time, and he would talk about spiritual subjects. And Baba said, he was a sincere man, a good man. And one day he came to see Baba, but Baba didn't come out for his darshan. So he waited around for, I think he spent the night actually, and probably in the Upasni Sarai or in one of the Dharmshala they had there. And finally, Baba wasn't appearing, and this man went to Kaka Shahane and said to him, I realize I've made a mistake. I came here intending to talk to Baba about money, and I see now that I shouldn't have done that. And he left. And when Baba came out, Baba said, the first time this man came to see me, I asked him, do you want to talk about worldly things or spiritual things? And he said, spiritual things. And now listen to this. This is the compassion of the Avatar. He said, I knew he was going to break his promise, and I didn't want him to do that, so I wouldn't see him today. You know, and I've noticed many of the stories of Baba's with his disciples or with his lovers or with his bhaktas, with, you know, devotees who would show up. Baba would take it seriously if someone promised him something. He would really hold them to their promises. So here was a case where he spared the man having to have violated the promise he made to Baba right at the beginning. Isn't it a beautiful story? I mean, Baba is really looking to his spiritual welfare. Okay, let's go to, let's just take a quick look at this. There are a bunch of Tiffin lectures. One of the themes that Baba makes a lot is spiritual knowledge can never be understood, can never be grasped through the intellect. No amount of read. This is spoken to people like me because I'm a read books guy, an edit books guy. But spiritual knowledge can never be attained through books or through book knowledge, that kind of knowing. It's direct. So here he gives a nice metaphor for this. And he makes this point many times. Right before this, what he was talking about, the same thing. Yeah, you can really have no idea of what is unlimited by talking about it. As another example, Baba says, take a hard pinch, or better, a scorpion sting. Have any of you ever been stung by scorpions? Yeah. Well, you can come to Mehrabad. We still have some of them there. Some of them are insect scorpions, and there are some nice human scorpions, too. So, can one person ever really explain to another what the feelings of this are like? The burning sensation, the agony. One cannot. At most, one can make writhing body movements. You can imagine Baba showing this. You know, he was such an actor. Or queer gestures to try to convey some faint idea of what he felt at the time. But the one he is trying to express this to won't understand or find these efforts to express the experience satisfactorily. And eventually both will get tired of trying and give up the attempt. The one to explain and the other to listen. The only thing that the realized one could do to convince his interlocutor, now this is somebody who's using this as an analogy for someone who's God realized, would be to give him the actual experience of what he is trying to explain. That is, to give him a sharp pinch, or to bring a scorpion and let him feel the scorpion's sting. But the precondition for the achievement of such experience is that the time for it must arrive. It has to be then. The experience can't be given before its time or after it. And this was another theme that Baba kept bringing up in these Tiffin lectures. Is this on? Yeah. In these Tiffin lectures, that he would, some of the Mandali would start complaining, I guess you could say, or asking, saying, when is this going to happen? When are we going to have the experience of realization? They wouldn't put it quite so bluntly, but, that question was on their minds. And Baba would never say who was in his circle or who was not. He would never give that information out. Baba would never say when it was going to happen, but he did say this: it is absolutely sure to happen. when you come into the circle of a Sadguru, and I imagine into the context of the avatar, your fate is sealed. And it's a matter of the time coming to pass. It can't be made to happen any sooner. It can't be made to happen any later. In fact, Baba gives another analogy of this, of a woman who wants a baby. And he says, well, if she has to pursue the proper means, you know, she has to somehow find a husband and get married and all of that. But once she's made pregnant, the time of the birth of the baby is certain. You can't, you know, a mother can't say, well, what are we now in March? It would be more convenient for me to have the baby in October. So I'm going to have the baby in October. Well, it's not going to happen that way. It's absolutely fixed. And in the same way, Baba was saying, realization was absolutely determined. The moment was there. The difference between a pregnant woman and the Mandali, Baba was saying, is that a pregnant woman knows approximately when she's going to have her baby, whereas the Mandali know nothing until the very last instant, and then it happens all at once. Nageshwar, are we going to do you want to translate? What shall we do this afternoon? Okay. Maybe we should do it one of these talks at a time or something, because it's hard to remember too.
అవతార్ మెహర్ బాబాకి జై. ముందుగా ఈ టిఫిన్ లెక్చర్స్లో ఉన్నటువంటి పరిచయ కార్యక్రమం అది అయిన తర్వాత ఆయన అందులో ఉన్నటువంటి కొన్ని బాబా ఇచ్చినటువంటి ఉపదేశాలని తీసుకొని వాటిని కొంత రుచిని మనకు చూపిస్తూ ఉన్నారు. అది ఏ రకంగా ఉంది అనేది. అందులో భాగంగా ఈ మధ్యాహ్నం సెషన్ ప్రారంభించి 7th అక్టోబర్ 7 అక్టోబర్ 1926లో బాబా ఇచ్చినటువంటి ఒక సందేశాన్ని గురించి ఆయన చెబుతూ ఉన్నారు. అయితే ఒక విషయం గుర్తుపెట్టుకోవాలి, ఇది 1926 అంటే భారతదేశానికి అప్పటికి స్వాతంత్రం ఇంకా రాలేదు. బయట ఈ ఆధ్యాత్మిక వాతావరణం ఇది నడుస్తూ ఉన్నప్పటికీ కూడా బయట ఎక్స్టర్నల్ వరల్డ్ ప్రపంచ భారతదేశంలో ముఖ్యంగా స్వతంత్రం కోసం స్వరాజ్యం కోసం అందరూ పోరాడుతూ ఉన్నారు. వివిధ పార్టీలు గెలుస్తూ ఉన్నాయి. ఆ పార్టీలు వాళ్ళు తమ రాజకీయంలో భాగంగా వాళ్ళు రావడం, ఎక్కడైనా ఆధ్యాత్మికంగా ఒక గురువు ఉన్నారు, ఆయనకి ఫాలోవర్స్ ఎక్కువ మంది ఉన్నారంటే వాళ్ళ దగ్గరికి వచ్చి ఒక 4 మాటలు విని ఆయన యొక్క ఆశీర్వాదం పొందామని బయట చెప్పుకుంటే వాళ్ళకు ఓట్లు వస్తాయి. ఈ రకమైనటువంటి స్వార్థపూరితమైనటువంటి ప్రయోజనాలతో కూడా నడుస్తూ ఉన్నటువంటి కాలం ఉంది. అయితే ఈ 26 అక్టోబర్లో శివరాం మహాదేవ్ పరాంజపే అనేటటువంటి ఒక ఆయన ఒక 4-5 పొలిటీషియన్స్ బాబా దగ్గరికి రావడం జరిగింది. అయితే వాళ్ళు వచ్చినప్పుడు జరిగినటువంటి సంభాషణలో బాబా ఇచ్చినటువంటి అద్భుతమైన సందేశాన్ని ఆయన ఇప్పుడు మనకు చెప్పారు. వాళ్ళు వచ్చినది ఒక రాజకీయపూర్వకమైనటువంటి ఆలోచన. వాళ్ళ స్వరాజ్యం కోసం స్వాతంత్రం కోసం పోరాడుతున్నాం, మాకు ఓట్లు కావాలి అనే రకంగా బాబా దగ్గర ఆశీర్వాదం పొందడం కోసం ఒక పొలిటికల్ దీంతో వచ్చారు. అయితే బాబా ఎంత చక్కగా ఎదుటివాడు ఏమనుకుంటాడో అది ఇది లేదా ఎంత కరాఖండిగా సత్యాన్ని వాళ్ళకి చెప్పారో చూద్దాం. ముందుగా చెప్పారు బాబా, అసలు పాలిటిక్స్ అంటే ఏంటి, ఈ రాజకీయాలు ఏంటి, అది ఫ్రాడ్ కాదా అని ప్రారంభించారు. ప్రారంభించి ఏం చెప్పారట అంటే, అసలు నిజమైన స్వాతంత్రం అంటే ఏంటి, మీరు చెబుతున్నటువంటి ఈ స్వరాజ్యం ఏదైతే ఇదంతా ఎక్స్టర్నల్, భారతదేశానికి బాహ్యంగా లభించే స్వాతంత్రం గురించి మాట్లాడుతున్నాం. కానీ నేను చెబుతుంది నిన్ను నువ్వు జయించుకొని నువ్వు ఆ స్వతంత్రాన్ని పొందాలి. ఎప్పుడైతే నిన్ను నువ్వు జయించి ఆ స్వతంత్రాన్ని పొందుతావో నీకు ఎవర్ లాస్టింగ్ బ్లిస్, అనంతమైనటువంటి ఆనందం, అది ఎప్పుడు తరగని ఆనందం నీ సొంతం అవుతుంది. ఆ ఆనందం నీకు సొంతమైనప్పుడు అది నీ ఒక్కడి సొత్తే కాదంట, ఎదుటివాడిని కూడా ఆ రకమైనటువంటి ఆనందాన్ని పొందేటట్టు నువ్వు చెయ్యగలవు అని చెప్పి బాబా చెప్పడం జరిగింది. అంతేకాదు అక్కడ ఉన్నటువంటి వాళ్ళు, బాబా మరి నువ్వు చెబుతున్నావు కదా రియల్ ఇండిపెండెన్స్ అని, ఆ రియల్ స్వరాజ్యం చెబుతూ ఉన్నావు, మరి ఇండియాకి ఈ స్వరాజ్యం వస్తుందా అంటే, ఓహో మీరు చెప్తున్నటువంటి ఎక్స్టర్నల్ ఇండిపెండెన్స్ అది వస్తుంది, తప్పకొస్తుందని చెప్పి బాబా చెప్పడం జరిగింది. అయితే దాన్ని మనం ఇప్పుడు చూసాం కూడా. అయితే ఇది చెప్పిన తర్వాత బాబా మరొక విషయాన్ని కూడా చెప్పడం జరిగింది. అయితే ఆ ఇండిపెండెన్స్ రావాలి, ఆ బాబా చెప్తున్నటువంటి రియల్ ఇండిపెండెన్స్ రావాలి అంటే బాబా ఏం చెప్పారంటే, నీ యొక్క అంతరాత్మ. అయితే ఈ పొలిటీషియన్స్కి చెప్పారు, మీ పాలిటిక్స్ ఎందుకు ఫ్రాడ్ అని చెప్పానో తెలుసా? మీరు సాధారణంగా మీ అంతరాత్మ చెప్పే విషయాల్ని పాటించరు. మీ పొలిటికల్ పార్టీ ఏదైతే చెప్తుందో నీ అంతరాత్మకు అది విరుద్ధంగా ఉన్నా సరే దాన్ని నువ్వు పాటించేందుకు వెళ్తున్నావు, కానీ నీ అంతరాత్మ చెబుతున్నటువంటి మాట వినవు. అలాగే ఎప్పుడైతే నువ్వు నీ అంతరాత్మ చెబుతున్నటువంటి మాటని ఫాలో అవుతావో అప్పుడు నీకు నిజమైనటువంటి సెల్ఫ్ కంట్రోల్ వచ్చి నువ్వు ఆ సెల్ఫ్ ఇండిపెండెన్స్ని పొందగలవు అని చెప్పడం జరిగింది. అలాగే బాబా తన ప్రేమికుల మీద ఎంత కన్సర్న్ చూపిస్తారని చెప్పేందుకు ఈయన ఒక ఇన్సిడెంట్స్ ఇదే టిఫిన్ లెక్చర్స్ నుంచి చెప్పడం జరిగింది. అహ్మద్ నగర్లో ఒక బ్రాహ్మణుడు ఉండేవాడంట. ఆయన బాబా దర్శనం కోసం వస్తూ ఉండేవాడు. తరచూ బాబా దగ్గరికి రావడం, బాబా అయితే ఈ టిఫిన్ లెక్చర్ సమయంలోనే ఆయన కూడా బాబా చెప్తున్నటువంటి విషయాలు వింటూ ఉండడం, ఎంతో శ్రద్ధగా ఇంటికి వెళ్తూ ఉండేవాడు. అయితే ఒకరోజు ఆయన బాబా దగ్గరికి వచ్చారంట. బాబా ఎంతసేపటికి బయటికి వచ్చి దర్శనం ఇవ్వటం లేదు. ఈయన వెయిట్ చేశాడు. రాత్రి పొద్దుపోయింది, మరుసటి రోజు కూడా వచ్చింది, బాబా రావటం లేదు. బాబా రావటం లేదు, ఇంకా చేసేది ఏముంది అని చెప్పేసి ఈయన ఈ కాకా సహాయనే ఎవరింటి దగ్గర అయితే బాబా మోస్ట్ ఆఫ్ ది టిఫిన్ లెక్చర్స్ ఇచ్చారో వాళ్ళ ఇంటికి వెళ్ళాడంట. వెళ్ళి ఒక మాట చెప్పాడు. ఏంటట అంటే, బాబా నాకు ఎందుకు దర్శనం ఇవ్వలేదో నాకు అర్థమైంది అని చెప్పాడంట. ఏంటి అని కాకా సహానే అమాయకంగా అడిగితే, నేను బాబా దగ్గరికి ఎందుకు వచ్చానో తెలుసా, ఈరోజు ఆయన దర్శనం కన్నా నాకు కొంచెం ఆర్థిక సహాయం కావాలి, ధనం గురించి ఆయన వేడుకుందామని వచ్చాను, అందుకే నాకు దర్శనం ఇవ్వలేదు అని చెప్పాడంట. అయితే బాబా ఆయన అలా చెప్పేసి వెళ్ళిపోయాడు. తర్వాత బాబా వచ్చి చెప్పాడంట, చూడండి ఆయన ఎంత కరుణామయుడు. ఈ బ్రాహ్మణుడు మొట్టమొదటిసారి బాబా దగ్గరికి రాగానే బాబా అడిగారంట, నీకేం కావాలి, మెటీరియలిస్టిక్ థింగ్స్ కావాలా, స్పిరిచువల్ థింగ్స్ కావాలా అంటే, ఈ భౌతికపరమైనవి ఏమైనా కావాలా, ఆధ్యాత్మికపరమైనవి కావాలంటే, నాకు భౌతికపరమైనవి ఏవి వద్దు, ఆధ్యాత్మికపరమైనవే కావాలి, నీ నుండి నేను అదే కోరుకుంటున్నాను అని చెప్పి అడిగాడంట. అడిగితే బాబా సరేనని చెప్పారు. అయితే బాబా దగ్గర ఆయన ప్రామిస్ చేశాడు కదా, ఆ ప్రామిస్ను ఆయన బ్రేక్ చేస్తాడేమో అని చెప్పేసి బాబా ఎక్కడ నేను వస్తే ఈ భౌతికపరమైన ధనం అడుగుతాడని చెప్పి ఆయన రాకుండా ఆ ఇంట్లో ఉండిపోయాడండి. చూడండి ఎంత కరుణామయుడో, ఆయన ఎంత కన్సర్న్ చూపిస్తూ ఉంటాడో. ప్రేమికులుగా మనం ఆయనకి ఎన్నో ప్రామిసులు చేసేస్తున్నా సరే ఆ ప్రీతమ ప్రభు మన ప్రామిసులు మనం బ్రేక్ చేయకుండా ఉండేందుకు ఆయన ఎంత పని చేయాల్సి వస్తుందో అని చెప్పి ఇక్కడ చెప్పడం జరిగింది. అలాగే ఇంకొక విషయాన్ని కూడా చెప్పారు. సాధారణంగా మనం మేధస్సును ఉపయోగించి లేదా మనం పుస్తకాలు చదివేసి ఆధ్యాత్మిక జ్ఞానం సంపాదించడం అనేది అసంభవం అని చెప్పడం జరిగింది. అంటే నువ్వు మేధస్సుతో, నీ మనస్సుతో, మేధస్సుతో, పుస్తక జ్ఞానంతో నువ్వు నిజమైనటువంటి ఆధ్యాత్మిక జ్ఞానాన్ని పొందలేవు అని చెప్పడం జరిగింది. దానికి ఉదాహరణగా బాబా ఒక అద్భుతమైన ఎగ్జాంపుల్ ఇవ్వడం జరిగింది. సాధారణంగా ఒక వ్యక్తికి తేలు కరిచింది అనుకోండి. తేలు కరిస్తే ఎలా ఉంటుంది ఆ బాధని వాడు వివరించమని అడిగితే వాడు వివరించడానికి నానా బాధలు పడుతూ ఉంటాడు. తేలు కరిస్తే ఇలా అవుతుంది, అలా అవుతుంది అని ఇంకా నానా డాన్సింగ్లు చేస్తూ ఉంటాడు, కానీ మనకు అర్థం కాదు. ఇంకా చెప్పిన వాడు అలసిపోవాలంటే వినేవాడు కూడా అలసిపోవాలి, కానీ నిజంగా తేలు కుడితే ఎలా ఉంటుందో ఎదుటివాడికి అర్థం కాదట. వాడికి అర్థం అవ్వాలంటే వీడు చేయాల్సింది ఒకే ఒక పని ఏంటంటే, ఒక తేలుని తెచ్చి వాడికి కూడా కుట్టిస్తే వీడికి అర్థమవుతుందట, ఆ తేలు కరిస్తే ఎలా ఉంటుందట అని చెప్పి బాబా ఆధ్యాత్మికమైనటువంటి ఈ జ్ఞానం, ఆ గాడ్ రియలైజేషన్ అనేది పొందడం కూడా అటువంటిదే. ఎన్ని మాటలు చెప్పినా సరే ఈ మేధస్సు ద్వారా కానీ పుస్తకాల ద్వారా కానీ రాదు అని చెప్పి ఒక మంచి విషయాన్ని చెప్పడం జరిగింది. ప్రతిదానికి ఒక సమయం అంటూ ఉంటుంది. ఈ తేలు తెచ్చి కుట్టిస్తే వాడికి అర్థమవుతుంది కదా, ఆ కుట్టించడానికి వీడేదో ఒక సమయం వస్తే కానీ కుట్టించి వాడికి తెలియజేయడం ఎలా అయితే ఉంటుందో, అలాగే ఈ ఆధ్యాత్మికమైనటువంటి ఆ గాడ్ రియలైజేషన్ గురువు ఒక శిష్యుడికి ఇవ్వాలి అన్నా ఆ టైం అనేది రావాలి. ఆ టైం వస్తే అది ఇవ్వడం జరుగుతుంది అని చెప్పి బాబా దానికి ఒక ఎనాలజీ ఇవ్వడం జరిగింది. అదేంటంటే, ప్రెగ్నెంట్ లేడీకి ఆమెకి ఎప్పుడు కావాలంటే అప్పుడు పుట్టదు కదా, దానికి ఒక సమయం అంటూ ఉంటుంది బిడ్డ ప్రసవం ఇవ్వడానికి. అలాగే ఇది కూడా గాడ్ రియలైజేషన్ అనేది కూడా నువ్వు ఒక పర్ఫెక్ట్ మాస్టర్ సర్కిల్లో ఉండేటప్పుడు ఆయన ఎప్పుడు నీకు గాడ్ రియలైజేషన్ ఇవ్వాలి అనేది ఆ సమయం అనేది ఫిక్స్ అయ్యే ఉంటుంది. కాకపోతే ప్రెగ్నెంట్ లేడీకి తెలుస్తుందట, నా 9th మంత్ ఇది అయిన తర్వాత డేట్ ఇలా ఉంటుంది, ఈ రోజుకి డెలివరీ అవుతుందని. కానీ బాబా దగ్గర ఉన్నటువంటి ఆ సర్కిల్ మెంబర్స్కి ఆ డేట్ అనేది తెలియదు, అంతే తేడా. రావడం అనేది పక్కా ఎప్పుడు వస్తుందో అనేది ఆయనకు మాత్రమే తెలుసు, వీళ్ళకి తెలీదు అని చెప్పడం జరిగింది. अवतार मेहर बाबा की जय।
Sure.
Sir, this is page 179. Baba was dealing with intellect, mind and body. Baba permitted to use intellect, mind and body. He prohibited to use the powers of intellect, powers of mind and powers of body. I could not understand this.
Okay, I couldn't fully. Was that the intellect, mind, and body versus perverted intellect, mind, and body? Was that I couldn't? What? Body. What about them? What was the question about them? I couldn't quite hear. It was kind of boomy.
Yeah, I will read your question. The question, sir.
Ah. Turn this on.
Use of body, mind is okay, but don't use powers of intellect and mind and body. You can use your body. He says in the page number 179, it's mentioned. Use of intellect, mind, body are okay to be used, but never use the powers of intellect, mind, and body. What does it mean?
Let's see. 179, you say? Oops. Where is this? Where is this? I'm not totally understanding the question. Let's see.
By living in the world, this is first paragraph.
Oh yeah, use and misuse. Right. I'm sorry, I didn't hear. Use and misuse the powers of intellect, mind, and body. Yeah, so the question, while living and working in the course of one's life in this world, one must fully avail oneself and make best use of one's intellect, ability, and strength towards the betterment of oneself and others. While using the powers of mind, intellect, and body, one must take care that one does not in any way misuse them. And the best and easiest way to do this is to remain as innocent as a child, particularly in matters connected with the tender sex, i.e. women, and the use of the sacred organ. So he's particularly referring to sexual type things. So that's the quotation. So, well,
Question. Same question కదా? అదే క్వశ్చన్ కదా? రైట్. అంతే అంతే.
Well, I would presume that what Baba meant was that living your life in the world, you have to use all your abilities. Like, let's suppose you're, you have a job, you have a business. Well, naturally, you have to use your intellect in the pursuit of that business and your, energy in your body and all, charisma, everything else to, make the business successful and work well. But don't use those same qualities for bad ends. Like, let's suppose that, I'm very, since he was mentioning in particular sexual things, I'm supposed to be a public personality in some way. Suppose I'm a young man, very handsome young man. And so I would use all my persuasiveness and charm and intelligence to advance whatever my job was, whatever my task was. But let's suppose in the course of that, I attracted certain women to me. Suppose that happened. Well, I shouldn't misuse it by taking advantage of that situation. I should, maintain a distance and maintain my purity in that respect. So it's that kind of thing. I mean, you have to use all your facilities and capabilities within the world, but that don't use that as an excuse for taking advantage of them. I imagine Baba means things like that.
అర్థమైందా? రైట్,
Hmm.
ఏం లేదు. రైట్, ఓకే. ఆయన ప్రశ్న ఏంటంటే, నీకున్నటువంటి ఈ శరీరానికి సంబంధించినటువంటి శక్తియుక్తులు, లేకపోతే నీకున్నటువంటి తెలివితేటలు, అవన్నీ కూడా వాడుకొని నీవు బతకడం గురించి వాడుకో, అంతవరకు యూజ్. ఈ ప్రాసెస్ లోపల నీకు నీకు పక్కవాడిని నీ అధీనంలో తీసుకునే కెపాసిటీస్ కానీ, లేకపోతే మిస్యూజ్ చేసేటువంటి పరిస్థితి వచ్చింది అనుకోండి, ఆ పని చేయొద్దు. నీకున్నటువంటి శక్తి నువ్వు నీ అడ్వాన్స్మెంట్స్ గురించి వాడుకో తప్ప, నువ్వు పక్కవాడిని మిస్యూజ్ చేయడం మటుకు వాడద్దు. అది నాట్ ఫర్ డెఫినెట్లీ ఇంకొకరిని మిస్యూజ్ చేయడం మటుకు వాడద్దు. నీకు ఏదైతే ఇచ్చిందో ఆ శక్తియుక్తి అంతగా నీకు నీ పరిమితిలో ఉండి వాడుకోవాల్సిందే, యూజ్ చేసుకోవాల్సిందే, మిస్యూజ్ చేయొద్దని చెప్తున్నారు. ఓన్లీ ఫర్ సెల్ఫ్, రైట్. ఓన్లీ ఫర్ సెల్ఫ్ అంటే మళ్ళీ ఈ శరీరాన్ని వాడడం గురించి కూడా మళ్ళీ మిస్యూజ్ చేయకూడదు. దాంట్లో స్త్రీ గురించి చెప్పారు, ఎవరో ఒకరు నువ్వు చేయాల్సిన పని ఏంటంటే మార్కెటింగ్ జాబ్లో చేస్తున్న మార్కెటింగ్ జాబ్ కావాల్సినటువంటి శక్తియుక్తులతో అమ్మేసుకోవాలి నువ్వు ప్రోడక్ట్ని. ఎవరో ఒకళ్ళు ఆపోజిట్ సెక్స్ వాళ్ళు నీతో మాట్లాడుతున్నారు కదా అని చెప్పి దాని అడ్వాంటేజ్గా తీసుకోవద్దు. అది ఎస్టిమేట్ పర్పస్. సార్,
Other questions? Yeah.
ఆన్సర్ క్వశ్చన్, గో హెడ్ సార్.
Sir, good evening. Jai Baba.
Jai Baba.
I have a question about the state of Parameshwar. In Tiffin Lectures book, it is mentioned in page number 267. Page number 267, Tiffin Lectures. There.
పేజ్ నెంబర్ సార్, పేజ్ నెంబర్.
Yeah. What was the question?
Hello.
What's that?
Parmeshwar. Talking about the Parmeshwar. Come. Third point. You're talking about third point, right, sir?
Yeah.
Third point. Yeah. Page number.
Yeah. Right. Right. He seems to be talking to the mandali there. Right. I know. So he's the question he's addressing here is whether you should be afraid of God or not. That's the question here. And he says, don't fear God. You know, in some of the religions, like in Islam, there's a lot of emphasis on fearing God. Although I think they don't actually mean fearing. I think they mean have awe and respect. But here Baba says, don't fear God. And the point he seems to be making here is, you yourself are no one other than Parameshwar. You are God yourself. So what sense does it make for you to be afraid of God if you yourself are God? I think he just needs Parameshwar as a word for God. Yeah, he does use it that way in Infinite Intelligence. Sometimes Baba would use these words in different ways, so I'm not 100% sure how he means it there. Yeah. Yeah, but they won't be able to hear you. That's the problem. Yeah. But the long and the short of it, I think he's just saying that you yourself are God, so there's no sense in your being afraid of God. Right. Sure, but Baba is telling on his authority that they are God. Yeah. So Baba's saying, don't be afraid of God because I tell you that you are God.
Hello.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, that seems to be the point.
and on another page in the same book, 613. 613 glossary. Related to the same question. In the glossary, Parameshwar state is defined, page number 613. Here it is mentioned with respect to Hindu concepts, supreme God, either Vishnu or Shiva. That we don't take into relevance now. The other point is in infinite intelligence, Parameshwar refers to the formless God for infinite intelligence in the unconscious state. So that means, as per infinite intelligence book, Parameshwar state is self-unconscious. He is not conscious of himself, which is state one of 10 states of God and state 2A of 10 states of God. So the difference between state 1 and state 2A, in state 2A we have Leher, him.
He says that, but in this context, it doesn't apply. So he's telling about if you continue to read that sentence, what happens is, hello?
Yeah, this is the question. You know, this is a very technical question beyond probably what we can very well answer here. But Baba would sometimes, like in infinite intelligence, he used Parameshwar to refer to unconscious God. But it's not clear that he used it with the same meaning here. And there are many examples of that, where he'll use a word in different ways.
But elsewhere, Baba already stated, for example, in our Parvatigar prayer, you are beyond God, beyond God. A beyond God correlated to state one.
We know the point. But you know, I don't think this really is very germane to this particular quotation. He's just making the point, don't be afraid of God because you are God. And it's true that those who he was speaking to would not know that from their own knowledge. But he would know it, and he was telling it to them. He said, you don't be afraid because I tell you that you yourself are God. That seems to be his point.
My reason for asking this question is, as I understand from the literature available and I went through, it gives me an impression that presently I am unconscious Parameshwar and my destination is Parabrahma state, that is self-conscious God. Parabrahma, that is 2B state. I am in 2A state now, as on today, until I get realization.
So what's the point? We want to get back to the Tiffin lectures here. Yeah. That's true. That's in God's
And
speaks.
Tiffin lectures confirms that point in page number 267. On page number 267, it is mentioned, you yourself are Paramatma. You yourself are Parameshwar. You yourself are Parameshwar. That means presently I am in Parameshwar state and I am not conscious of my soul. I am only conscious of my mind. And mind and soul cannot be linked unless the mind is absolutely pure. This is my impression. I am asking you to whether I tally with you or not.
Whether what? What's your question?
Question is to understand this technical word Parameshwar state, which is giving an answer in this book in page number 230. You yourself are Parameshwar.
Yeah. You know, but I'm not convinced that we can take that technical meaning and apply it to this passage. I could spend a long time giving examples. I'll give you one example. Infinite intelligence regularly uses the word Ishwar to mean God as creator, preserver, destroyer, right? The third state of God. There are clear examples here where Baba uses it not that way, but just to mean God. So Baba's use of certain terms, he would use, one has to be careful of them. They're not always being used the same way.
But can we get the same inference from our Parvatigar prayer where Baba given
I think we better not try to go there because to respond to that we'd have to spend a full study of the Parvatigar prayer, whether the word is
only one line.
No, but you'd really have to study the whole usage of it. So,
Okay.
yeah.
Thank you very much.
Jeva,
Yeah.
what you just a minute. Let everyone is give.
Yeah.
అందరూ కన్ఫ్యూజ్ అయిపోయాం ఇక్కడ సార్ చెప్పింది. ఇది సార్ అడిగింది ఏంటంటే భయపడొద్దు అన్నటువంటి చాప్టర్ గురించి మాట్లాడుతున్నారు. ఫియర్స్ గురించి చెప్తున్నారు. ఫియర్స్ గురించి అని చెప్తున్న దాంట్లో ఏంటంటే ఒకటి ప్రపంచంలో ఉన్నటువంటి ఎవరికి భయపడొద్దు ఏ మనుషులకి. రెండోది భగవంతుడికి భయపడకండి. మూడోది ఏంటంటే ఎందుకు భయపడద్దు అంటే ఏం పని చేసి చెత్త పని చేసి కాదు, భయపడవలసినటువంటి అవసరం లేదు. ఎందుకు చెప్తున్నారంటే మీరే పరమేశ్వరుడు, మనమే భగవంతుడు కాబట్టి. ఇప్పుడు సార్ ఏంటంటే పరమేశ్వరు అన్న మాటకి ఇంకొక చోట వాడిన దానికి కూడా రిఫరెన్స్ ఉంది ఆయన దగ్గర, కృష్ణప్రసాద్ గారు. అందుగురించి దాని గురించి చెప్తున్నారు. కానీ సార్ ఏమంటున్నారంటే ఇప్పుడు ఆ డిస్కషన్కి వెళ్ళదు, మనం టిఫిన్ లెక్చర్స్ అది కాదు కాబట్టి. మీరే భగవంతుడు కాబట్టి మీరు భగవంతుడికి ఎందుకు భయపడాల్సిన అవసరం ఉంది? మనం కూడా భగవంతుడే. ఆ రిఫరెన్స్లు చెప్పారు.
Now here's another theme that keeps coming up in the Tiffin lectures, which is renunciation. And there was an entire Tiffin lecture devoted to this. It's, let's see, 252, isn't that right? Yeah. And this illustrates what a living group of talks these were. Baba started telling them what, renunciation. And he had these various terms for it. After giving this talk on renunciation, Chag, Sannyas, and Vaitag, after giving this talk, it's not in the Tiffin lecture itself, but it's in the histories. Baba said, well, what do you think? Why don't we do it? And so all the Mandali said, yeah, let's do it. So Baba decided then and there, in an hour or 2 hours' time, they were just going to leave for a period of time. I forget how long it was. And just go begging for their food and just go wandering. It sounds a bit like the New Life. Can you get the spirit of the time? It's like, Baba's telling them you have to practice renunciation to live this new life. Well, let's do it. Let's do it right now. Let's not wait for 1 minute. And all of the Mandali were, of course they were young men, 20 years old. You're kind of, when you're a man of 65, you tend to think, well, what am I going to eat? Where am I going to sleep? Where am I going to get the money? But they were, full of energy. And so Baba was already right then to go. But then he wound up canceling it, and they were just going to go for a single day. And they walked 5 miles to the village of Walaki. If next time you go to Mirabad, you could take a little visit to Walaki, which is where they went to. And there was a big event that wound up happening there. But this is to give a sense of the spirit of the time. It's like they were ready to do anything on a moment. And they knew from experience with Baba that he could do it. In fact, I'll just mention this, even though I mentioned it before, on the spirit of renunciation. In a little bit after this, in October, several of the Mandali were not being enthusiastic enough in the way they are carrying out their duties. Now you can, if you read about Baba's, the period of time, you can imagine what this was. Baba could nag and find fault and criticize and hit on someone on and on and on and on and on to the point where they would completely lose their temper. And then he would ask them to do something and they would be a little bit sulky about it. And Baba would say, what's this? You don't obey gladly? You won't obey cheerfully? So I think Padre was one of them and 2 others who were not being enthusiastic enough about the way they are performing their duties. So what is the solution to this problem? Well, obviously, the solution to the problem is to dissolve the Mirabad ashram. Right? And he did it. He went ahead and dissolved the Mirabad. It took about 2 months. That wasn't the only reason, but that was one of them. And they had just built like the Sai Darbar and these different buildings, and Baba had them all torn down. He had just created this dispensary There was a leper asylum was there. He had all these relate to the school, the Hazrat Babajan school for the Arangan kids. And all these other, all sorts of people were coming for darshan. There'd be large crowds coming for his darshan and for his lectures and those things. But just like that, Baba ended it all. I mean, this is not the behavior of an ordinary man at all. He was becoming a success as a master. He was becoming a hit. He was becoming popular. He was becoming famous. And he just ended it all. So they knew from experience that with Baba, anything could happen at any time. And so when Baba talked about renunciation, this is when you read these Tiffin lectures, bring this to mind. It's like they were living on the edge of a knife, or living on the edge of a volcano that could erupt at any moment. And that was their life. So Baba gave this really wonderful discourse on renunciation. Let's see if I can pull out some nice quotes from this. He liked Kabir, and he also quotes Vivekananda. Baba liked Vivekananda also. He who fills, this is Kabir. I'm not good at reading. Pit samana ana mage tan samana chir. Adiki sangra nakare takanam fakir. Have you heard that before? It's a Kabir couplet. He who fills the stomach with food, covers the body with clothing, and keeps nothing more than that, such a one can be named a fakir. In other words, just look after the bare basic needs you have for that moment and forget everything else. That's a fakir. In other words, just beg for enough food for that day and don't worry about tomorrow. Yeah, so he says it right here. That is, the one who desires for food sufficient to satisfy his appetite, who wants clothes sufficient to cover and keep his body protected from atmospheric effects, such as heat and cold, and he who entertains no other desire of accumulating anything, he alone deserves to be called the real fakir. And then Baba goes on to criticize a lot of these so-called sadhus and sannyasis who are mere idlers. You know, they just wander around as a cheap way of making a living. And towards the end of, there's some interesting, Baba gave a lot of stress on a path to God in the Tiffin lectures on satsang. Satsang, keeping the company of the master. That, he indicated, was really the best path. Just keep the company of the master and do what the master says. And here he gives 3 types of people who do this. Now, those who practice satsang can be divided into 3 types. He who gives, takes not, and stays. Ekdeto get nahi vahrahato. He who gives not, takes not, but stays. And the third, he who gives not, takes, but stays. Do you get that? Like the last category, somebody who doesn't help with anything, doesn't do any service, doesn't make any contribution, takes the free food, takes the free bed, takes all the compliments from the master, but he stays. Well, that too is satsang, Actually, what really matters is to stay with the master. Keep the master's company. I mean, this is category 3 is the sort of follower that everyone would hate, right? Worthless bum who contributes nothing and just, feeds on the efforts of other people. But actually, the thing that really matters, whether you're good or whether you're bad, whether you contribute or whether you don't contribute, is to stay with the master, actually. Of course, if you're in category 3, I suspect that a real master will be correcting you before too long. But so Baba brings home that path, that point again and again. Keep the company of the master. That's the thing that matters more than anything else. Let's see, it's 3 o'clock. Why don't I read there are some very interesting passages on the use of powers. I will just describe this one. There was a Jain businessman in Ahmednagar, we don't know who came to Baba, who was having all these financial problems and had a big event upcoming. And he went away. He got Baba's blessing. I forgot exactly what Baba said. But then he came back later, a month later, and said the event was a grand success. It looked like it was going to rain, which would have been a disaster for him. He was doing the catering business. He was providing food for a wedding or some event like that. And if it rained, it would have been a total disaster. But the rain held off, and also he had provided enough food for maybe 500 people, and 2,000 people came. So he hadn't provided anything like enough food. But somehow or another, the food kept being sufficient, and the amount of food that he had provided was enough for this huge crowd. So he attributed that to Baba's blessings and called it a miracle of Baba's, right? So it's one of those stories. And after he left, Baba said, I had nothing to do with this. I knew nothing about this. But then Baba proceeded to give an explanation which I haven't heard before. He differentiated between the powers of Paramatma, which means the powers of a Sadguru, the powers of Ishwar, which is God, the active, expressive, the theistic, the Lord of the universe, and the powers of Maya. And he said that the powers of the Sadguru are not connected with the universe at all. But when the Sadguru, if the Sadguru touches the powers of Ishwar, the powers of Maya, it gives them tremendous force. And it would seem, as I understood it, Baba is saying the Sadguru actually does not connect himself with these kinds of miracles and these kinds of powers because it will give force to them and activate them more and more. But those powers are carried out by Ishwar and Maya on their own without the Sadguru's involvement. So we hear all these stories about miracles attributed to Baba, and Baba said he never did them. And I think this explains that. He, as the avatar, as the Sadguru, as Paramatma, needs to keep himself disconnected from this kind of thing. Because if he connected himself, it would give too much energy and too much force to those kinds of powers. But those kinds of powers are exercised by the persons who are on the appropriate level to do them. There are other times where Baba gave explanations of that. Anyway, that's one of the Tiffin lectures on the different kinds of powers. That's quite interesting. And I'll close this section with a very unusual account Baba gave of the powers of the fourth plane and why a yogi falls all the way to stone state. Yeah. So he was telling Baba about telling the Mandali about all these powers and what you find there. And so here's what he says here. Why is the yogi thrown down to the stone form? As just explained, in the subtle form of the spirit that has attained to the yoga state, yoga vashta, he uses this as a designation for the lower planes in Tiffin lectures. There arise temptations which expose the spirit to the chance and hazard of falling catastrophically into the grip and binding of sanskaras. This happens when the subtle desire to perform miracles is put into gross action. And once that spirit gets enmeshed in the binding of these sanskaras, it is compelled to descend to their lowest state and degree. By the way, Baba hadn't explained this sort of thing very much. We all have heard this many times, but this was still kind of new to the Mandalay. Now, this is his explanation of why this is. For all the refuse of past sanskaras created during the spirit's progress from the lowest stone form state to its present much higher yoga state, garbage that had accumulated and blocked its path and advancement had been removed by the spirit through the varied means of yoga samadhi, right? So, and your whole spiritual journey from stone up to a fourth plane yogi, all these sanskaras, all this garbage has been removed by you through the force of your tapas and your yoga and your concentration. As a result, the way through which the spirit had advanced all this time, once clogged with the accumulated refuse of sanskaras, is now in the yoga state quite clear of obstruction, right? You've cleared the way through your yoga. And so when the spirit subjects itself once again to the binding and places itself under the weight and garbage of these sanskaras, it is brought down precipitously to the lowest level of these sanskaras. For the weight of these sanskaras is tremendous. You see the idea? All you're actually, when you fall from the yoga state, it's because the weight of your own sanskaras are collapsing on you. And the weight of them is so tremendous as to crush you. Besides this, there is another reason for the fall to stone. Miracles are illusions within illusion, vasno bivas, and the cause of illusion is sanskaras. Which means, in short, that the spirit in the fourth plane, while performing miracles, gets gripped around the throat by these sanskaras so sharply and severely that it is actually crushed under their unexpectedly extraordinary weight. Isn't that a remarkable explanation? You're crushed under the weight of your own sanskaras. That's why you fall. When it comes into the clutch of these sanskaras after some interval of yoga samadhi, it has to fall to the lowest station. This happens after the spirit gives up its gross body and dies. This same gross body, during this period of yoga samadhi, had all the while been utterly neglected, since the yogi was enjoying experiences of the planes and their paraphernalia through his subtle body. So I think this is a remarkable explanation of the fall from the fourth plane and how it happens and why it happens. Do you want to do this? And then I'll go on to the last topic of the day.
ఇప్పుడు చెప్పినటువంటి ఈ డిస్కషన్ మీద ఏమైనా క్వశ్చన్స్ ఉంటే అవి ఏమైనా ఉంటే కనుక మీరు తయారు చేస్తుంటే సంతోష్ ట్రాన్స్లేషన్ అయిన తర్వాత రెడీ టు టేక్. వేరేది కాకుండా ఈ సబ్జెక్ట్ సంబంధించింది ఏమిటే తీసుకుంటున్నారు ఇందాక నేను.
అలాగే దీని కొనసాగింపుగా ఆయన చెప్పినటువంటి మరికొన్ని టాపిక్స్ ఏంటంటే బాబా రెనౌన్షియేషన్ సన్యాసం గురించి చెబుతూ అక్కడ ఉన్నటువంటి ఆ యువకులు వాళ్ళలో ఉన్నటువంటి ఆ స్పిరిట్, ఆ స్ఫూర్తి ఏ రకంగా ఉంది అని చెప్తూ వాళ్ళకి బాబా సన్యాసం అంటే ఏంటి, అసలు రియల్ రెనౌన్షియేషన్ అంటే ఏంటి అని చెప్పిన తర్వాత సరే మీరందరూ సిద్ధంగా ఉన్నారా మనం సన్యసిద్దామని అంటే వాళ్ళు సరేనని చెప్పారంట. చూడండి, అది కేవలం ఒక ఉపదేశం అది ఇస్తే వీళ్ళు వినడం అనేదే కాదు, అది వాళ్ళలో ఆ స్ఫూర్తిని రగిలించింది. ఎప్పుడైతే బాబా మీరు సన్యసించడానికి సిద్ధంగా ఉన్నారా అంటే అక్కడ వీళ్ళందరూ సరేనని చెప్పడం, బాబాతో పాటు వీళ్ళు కొన్ని మైళ్ళు నడుచుకొని వెళ్ళి భిక్షాటన చేయడం, తిరిగి మరలా బాబా సరే ఇంకా దీన్ని ఆపుదామని చెప్పడం, ఇదంతా ఆయన భవిష్యత్తులో చేయబోయే ఆ న్యూ లైఫ్కి ఇది ఒక రకమైనటువంటి ఒక ట్రైనింగ్ లాగా ఉందేమో అని చెప్పేసి చెప్పడం జరిగింది. అలాగే నిజమైన ఫకీర్ జీవనం ఏ రకంగా ఉంటుంది అని చెప్పి బాబా ఇదే సందేశంలో చెప్పడం జరిగింది. ఏంటంటే సాధారణంగా ఇప్పుడు ఎంతోమంది ఫకీరుల జీవితాన్ని చూస్తూ ఉన్నాం, కానీ నిజమైన ఫకీర్ అనేవాడంట వాడు ఆకలికి అంటే తన ఆకలేసినప్పుడు అన్నం తినడం, తన శరీరాన్ని కప్పుకోవడానికి ఒక వస్త్రం తప్ప మరి ఏ రకమైనటువంటి కోరికలు లేనటువంటి వాడే నిజమైన ఫకీర్ అని చెప్పేసి బాబా కబీర్ యొక్క కపిలెట్ ఒకదాన్ని ఆ కోటుని తీసుకొని చెప్పడం జరిగింది. అలాగే ఒక సత్సంగం యొక్క ఇంపార్టెన్స్, భగవంతుడి యొక్క కంపెనీ ఆఫ్ ది మాస్టర్, ఒక గురువు యొక్క కంపెనీ, ఆయన సహవాసం, సత్సంగం యొక్క ప్రాధాన్యతను వివరిస్తూ బాబా చెప్పడం జరిగింది. సాధారణంగా నిజంగా కంపెనీ ఆఫ్ ది మాస్టర్ అనేది ప్రతి ఒక్కడికి కావాల్సి, వాడి గమ్యాన్ని చేరుకోవాలి అంటే వాడికి మాస్టర్ యొక్క కంపెనీని, తన నమ్మినటువంటి గురువు ప్రభు భగవంతుడి యొక్క కంపెనీని నిరంతరాయంగా ఉంచుకోవాలి అని చెప్తూ అది ఎంత ఇంపార్టెంట్ అనే విషయాన్ని చెప్పిన తర్వాత బాబా అసలు కంపెనీ ఆఫ్ ది మాస్టర్లో 3 రకాలైనటువంటి శిష్యులు ఉంటారు, 3 టైప్స్ ఉంటారంట. ఒకడు వాడు ఇస్తూ ఉంటాడంట, అన్ని ఎదుటివాడికి ఇస్తూ ఉంటాడు, అలాగే తీసుకుంటూ ఉంటాడు, కానీ గురువు యొక్క కంపెనీలో ఎప్పుడూ ఉంటూ ఉంటాడు. రెండవ రకమైనటువంటి వాడు ఎదుటివాడికి ఏమీ ఇవ్వడంట, వాడి పని అలాగే ఏమీ తీసుకోడు కూడా, వాడి పని కేవలం ఆ గురువు దగ్గర ఉండడమే నిరంతరాయంగా. ఇక మూడో రకమైనటువంటి వాడు ఎదుటివాడికి ఏమీ ఇవ్వడంట, కానీ ప్రతిదీ వాడికి కావాలి, అది మూడో రకమైనటువంటి వాడు. అయితే ముగ్గురులో ఉన్నటువంటి లక్షణం ఏంటంటే ఆ గురువు యొక్క ప్రభువు యొక్క కంపెనీని నిరంతరాయంగా ఉంచుకోవడం, అది ఇంపార్టెంట్. నువ్వు దీన్ని చెబుతూ ఉన్నారు ఇక్కడ. అంటే నువ్వు ఎలాంటి వాడివైనా, నీకు ఇచ్చే గుణం ఉన్నా తీసుకునే గుణం ఉన్నా నీ గుణంతో పని లేదు, ఉండాల్సిందంతా నువ్వు ఆర్ యూ హ్యావింగ్ కంపెనీ ఆఫ్ ది మాస్టర్, ప్రభువు యొక్క కంపెనీని, ఆ భగవంతుడి యొక్క నీ మాస్టర్, నీ గురువు యొక్క కంపెనీ నీకు నిరంతరాయంగా ఉందా లేదా, ఆయన సత్సంగంలో ఉన్నావా లేదా, ఆయన సహవాసంలో ఉన్నావా లేదా అనేది ఇంపార్టెంట్. కానీ నీ లక్షణం, నువ్వు ఎలాంటి వాడివైనా, నువ్వు ఏ పని చేసినా ఇట్స్ ఇమ్మెటీరియల్ అని చెప్పడం జరిగింది. అలాగే ఇది చెప్పిన తర్వాత ఆయన మరొక టాపిక్కి వెళ్ళడం జరిగింది. బాబా ఈ టిఫిన్ లెక్చర్స్లోనే మిరాకిల్స్, మహత్తుల గురించి చెబుతూ, సాధారణంగా బాబా యొక్క జీవిత చరిత్రలో చూసుకున్నా, ఏ పుస్తకంలో చూసుకున్నా మహత్తుల విషయానికి వచ్చేసరికి బాబా ఒక మాటను కరాఖండిగా చెప్తూ ఉంటారు, నేను ఎప్పుడు ఎటువంటి మహత్తులు చేయలేదు. అలాగే కొంతమంది వచ్చి బాబా నువ్వు ఎలా చేసావు, నన్ను రక్షించావు, ఇట్స్ ఏ న్యూస్ టు మీ, నువ్వు చెప్తేనే నాకు తెలిసింది కానీ నాకు ఎంతవరకు ఈ మహత్తు చేసినట్టు తెలియదు అని చెప్పడం జరిగింది. అని చెప్తూ అసలు ఈ మహత్తులు నేను చెయ్యను అని చెప్పినటువంటి బాబా అసలు మహత్తులు ఏ రకంగా జరుగుతాయనే విషయాన్ని చాలా చక్కగా చెప్పడం జరిగింది. సాధారణంగా ఈ మహత్తులు ఒక సద్గురువుకి అట్రిబ్యూట్ చేసినటువంటి ఆపాదించబడినవి, అలాగే భగవంతుడు లేదా ఈశ్వరుడికి ఆపాదించబడినవి, అలాగే మాయ చేసినటువంటివి అని చెప్తూ, సాధారణంగా అవతారుడు లేదా సద్గురువు అనేటటువంటి వాడు డైరెక్ట్గా ఈ మాయలోకి వచ్చి ఎటువంటి మహత్తులు చేయడంట. ఆయన ఏదైనా చెయ్యదలుచుకోకుండా ముందే ఆయన క్రింద ఉన్నటువంటి బాబా వివిధ సందర్భాల్లో చెప్పారు, ఆ ఏజెంట్స్ కానీ, అక్కడ ఉన్నటువంటి ఆ భగవంతుడు, ఈశ్వరుడు అయినటువంటి భగవంతుడు కానీ లేదా మాయే ఆయన ఏ రకంగా జరగాలో అవి జరిపించేస్తూ ఉంటాయి. కాబట్టి సాధారణంగా సద్గురువులు లేదా అవతార పురుషుడు ఇక్కడ బాబా చెప్పిన ప్రకారం వాళ్ళు ఈ మాయలోకి వచ్చి వేరే మహత్తులు అనేటువంటి ఏవి చెయ్యరు అని చెప్పడం జరిగింది. అలాగే ఈ టిఫిన్ లెక్చర్స్లో ఇచ్చినటువంటి ఒక మాత్రమైనటువంటి విషయం ఏంటంటే, ఇంతవరకు బయటికి ఈ రకంగా చెప్పలేనటువంటి, సాధారణంగా గాడ్ స్పీక్స్లో చదివితే 4th ప్లేన్లో ఉన్నటువంటి యోగి ఏదైనా మహత్తుల్ని, ఆయనకి ఇన్ఫినిట్ పవర్ అట్రిబ్యూట్స్ అన్నీ వస్తాయి కదా, ఆ శక్తులన్నీ రావడం వల్ల ఆయన ఎటువంటి మహత్తులైనా చేయగలడు. బాబా చెప్పడం జరిగింది, చనిపోయిన వాడిని బ్రతికించడం, సృష్టికి సృష్టించేయడం, ఈ రకమైనటువంటి మహత్తులన్నీ చేయగలడు. అటువంటి వాడు తన మహత్తుల్ని మిస్యూజ్ చేసినట్టయితే, నిరుపయోగం చేసినట్టయితే ఆయన తిరిగి స్టోన్ స్టేట్కి వెళ్ళిపోతాడు అనే విషయం మనందరికీ తెలిసిందే, బాబా యొక్క గ్రంథాల్లో రాయబడింది. మరి ఆయన ఎందుకు అలా వెళ్ళిపోతాడు అనే విషయాన్ని మొట్టమొదటిసారిగా ఈ గ్రంథంలో ప్రస్తావించడం జరిగింది. ఎందుకట అంటే ఆ స్టేట్, ఆ యోగి స్థితికి, ఆ 4th ప్లేన్కి వెళ్లేందుకు ఆయన ఎన్నో సాధనలు చేసి ఆయన మీద ఉన్నటువంటి ఏదైతే సంస్కార భారం ఏదైతే ఉందో ఆ మూటను చాలా వరకు క్లియర్ చేసుకుంటాడంట ఆ స్టేట్కి వెళ్ళడానికి. ఆయనకి అప్పటికి ఆ సటిల్ బాడీ యొక్క స్పృహ అనేది రావడం జరుగుతుంది. కాబట్టి ఆ సటిల్ బాడీ మీద, ఆ సటిల్ స్పియర్లో ఉన్నటువంటి పవర్స్ అన్నిటి మీద కంట్రోల్, ఆ నియంత్రణ వస్తుంది, ఏదైనా చేయగలడు. ఆ సమయంలో ఏమాత్రమైనా ఆయన టెంప్ట్ అయ్యి తన స్వార్థ ప్రయోజనాల కోసం తిరిగి ఏదైనా ఒక మిరకిల్ ఆ మహత్తుని చేసినట్లయితే ఏం జరుగుతుందట అంటే, ఈ భారం ఆ మూట ఏదైతే ఉందో ఎప్పుడైతే దానికి టెంప్ట్ అయ్యాడో మరలా అవన్నీ వచ్చి ఆయన పీక పట్టుకునేటట్టు ఆ సంస్కారాల భారం అంతా ఆయన నెత్తి మీద పడుతుందంట. పడడంతో ఒక్కసారి ఆయన తిరిగి ఆ గ్రాస్ ప్లేన్లో ఉన్నటువంటి అతి తక్కువ స్థితి అయినటువంటి ఆ శిల స్థితికి రావాల్సి ఉంటుంది అని చెప్పి చెప్పడం జరిగింది. ఇది బాబా ఇచ్చినటువంటి ఎక్స్ప్లెనేషన్. అవతార్ మెహర్ బాబా కీజీ.
సరే, ఈ క్వశ్చన్ ఆయన ఇన్వాల్వ్ చేయకుండా మనకు డిస్కస్ చేస్తే లాస్ట్ టైం మనం డిస్కస్ చేసాం దీని గురించి. అదే ఆ సమయంలో ఏమీ చేయకూడదు, ఇది వాటిని ఏ విధంగా కూడా వాడకూడదు. ఎందుకు వాడకూడదు అంటే కనుక మీకు లాస్ట్ టైం డిస్కస్ చేసాము. మీకు డాలర్స్ ఇచ్చాను ఇప్పుడు నేను, US డాలర్స్. ఎక్కడ ఖర్చు పెడతారు వెళ్ళి? ఇండియాలో ఖర్చు పెట్టవు కదా, అమెరికాకి పోవాలి కదా, అంతే కదా సార్? మీకు కనుక 4వ భూమికలో ఉన్నటువంటి శక్తిని వాడాలి అంటే ఎక్కడ వాడాలి? మీరు గ్రాస్ వరల్డ్లో వాడాలి. మీరు ఆల్రెడీ సెటిల్ వరల్డ్కి వచ్చారు, పైకి వచ్చారు, ఎక్కడ వాడాలి? అక్కడ పోయి వాడాలి. అక్కడికి పోయిన ఈయన ఎక్కడ స్టార్ట్ చేశారంటే ఇంతకు ముందు ఒక పేరా, నా పేరా వదిలిపెట్టి స్టార్ట్ చేయడంతో వచ్చింది డిస్కషన్. మీరు ఆ 4 భూమిక నుంచి వచ్చి గ్రాస్ వరల్డ్కి వచ్చి వాడాల్సి వస్తుంది. అక్కడ గ్రాస్ బాడీకి వెళ్తారు. గ్రాస్ బాడీ లేకుండా లేదు వాళ్ళకి, 4 భూమికలు ఉన్నారు, గ్రాస్ బాడీ ఉంది, దాని చైతన్యం లేదు తప్ప గ్రాస్ బాడీ ఆల్రెడీ ఉంది. సో అక్కడికి వెళ్ళి వాడాడు. మీరు అమెరికాకి వెళ్ళి అక్కడ వాడారు, అక్కడ పట్టుకున్నారు మిమ్మల్ని. ఇక్కడ కూడా వచ్చి గ్రాస్ వరల్డ్కి వచ్చిన తర్వాత ఇక్కడ కనుక మీరు కనుక వాడితే కనుక జరిగేది ఏంటంటే, అక్కడ ఆల్రెడీ మీ నెత్తి మీద ఆల్రెడీ సంస్కారాలు ఉన్నాయి, గ్రాస్ ప్రపంచం సంబంధించింది, 1 వే ట్రాఫిక్. అక్కడ వెళ్ళిన వెంటనే దొరికిపోయారు. మళ్ళీ అక్కడి నుంచి రావాలి అంటే ఎలా రావాలి? ఇదే ప్రయత్నపూర్వకంగా మీలా నాలా అయిపోయాడు వాడు. మళ్ళీ ఇంతకుముందు చెప్పినటువంటి యోగాలు చెప్పారు కదా, ఆ యోగాలను పట్టుకోవాల్సిందే. కర్మయోగం అనుకోండి, ఇంకోటి పట్టుకోండి, మళ్ళీ బాబా ఇచ్చినటువంటి సద్గురు సహకారం కానీ ఆ విధంగా వెళ్ళాల్సింది తప్ప అక్కడికి ఒక్కసారి వెళ్ళాము అంటే అందు గురించి ఏ విధంగానూ వాడకూడదు. దీనికి ఒక ఎక్స్ప్లెనేషన్ గాడ్ స్పీక్స్లో ఇచ్చారు, బీన్స్ ఎక్స్టెన్షన్తో. అది ఇప్పుడు డిస్కస్ చేయొద్దు, అది ఇప్పుడు ఆపేసేసి లెట్ us give the mic to him. This is working good? Yeah. So, as a last passage, the final portion of this seminar, I'm going to go to another topic. Let's take one last figure, which I've never seen Baba use this another time. It's a very unusual analogy he gave for the mind and stopping the mind. And he gave this at the end of that Tiffin lecture on the subject of renunciation, where they almost were about to renounce Mirabad at the time. And this is the figure Baba gives. Where did I put that? Okay. Let's take this is. Oh, this unit. Oh, I keep turning it off when I sit down. Okay, is that on again? Oh, did I not do it? Are the batteries dead? Oh, but it sounds like it's coming through. Oh, it's from that one. Okay. Is this one working? Is this one? Or is this one? That's the main one to be working through. Okay. Okay, so Baba's concludes his talk on renunciation with this. He says, let's take another concrete figure to illustrate how the ordinary human awake state and the being and doing of the mind are brought to an end. Imagine a machine at work. And also put yourself back in the 1920s. I don't know, they had cotton jennies or these big sort of agricultural devices that would, cut and chop. And if you got caught in them, you were finished. You'd be killed. It runs continuously. Now, if you approach the machine and cry aloud from the distance,
Stop operating, please. Of what use is this continual whirling and revolving of yours? Do you expect the machine to desist from its operation simply because of your words and loud cries? Certainly not. Then what is required for your purpose? You need someone so bold and courageous as to grab hold of the machine as it is running, and by sheer strength to force it to stop and operate no more. For the machine on its own will never stop until such one arrives who is daring enough to venture to manhandle it. Now imagine further that this machine has a big wheel and many sharp points, danta. One could not seize hold of such a device even when it is at rest and stationary. To grab hold of this deadly and dangerous mechanism when it is in motion would be to risk one's life in vain, since stopping it is next to impossible by any ordinary means. Let's see. So then, what would an expert do to stop such a machine? First, he would take up some suitable instrument, like a crowbar or something, and standing at a distance, use it to break off the sharp spikes. Only when this had been accomplished would he venture to use his strength directly to stop the wheel from evolving, not otherwise. In this analogy, the machine represents the life of ordinary mankind, Manushya. The wheel represents birth and rebirth in the body, Sharir. The points represent sanskaras. The instruments represent good actions proceeding from the infinite power and knowledge, Anant Shakti and Gyan. And the expert stopper represents the God-realized Sadguru. So I think that's a very remarkable analogy he's given. I've never seen anything quite like it. So the Sadguru is the one who knocks off all the spikes and points and then wrestles the machine to a stop. That's what he has to do to get our minds to shut up. Okay, now the last topic I wanted to take up in the half hour we have left is not about the content of the Tiffin lectures as such, but yeah. Oh yes, okay, sorry, yeah.
Quickly we'll finish up. ఒక పాడైపోయిన మిషన్ ఉంది, పెద్ద చక్రం తిరిగిపోతుంది, అది ఆగట్లేదు, అది కరెంట్ ఆఫ్ చేసిన పెద్ద జరిగిపోతుంది. అలాంటి సమయంలో మనం దాన్ని ఆపడానికి ప్రయత్నం చేసి దగ్గరికి వెళ్తే మనం కూడా నలిగిపోతాం దాంట్లో. మన వల్ల కాక ఎవరో పెద్ద ఎక్స్పర్ట్ పిలుచుకొస్తాం, మనతో ఆగట్లే, పోయి తిరిగిపోతాం, ఆగట్లేదని. ఆయన వచ్చి చేసేటువంటి పని ఏంటంటే దాన్ని ఆపడం గురించి ఇన్స్ట్రుమెంట్స్ తెచ్చుకొస్తాడు. ఆ చక్రం లోపల ఏదో గుణపాలు ఏదో మొత్తం దానికి కావాల్సిన గుణపాలు వేస్తాడు. ఆ చక్రం ఎంత పెద్దగా ఉందంటే దానికి బ్లేడ్స్ గీడ్స్ ఉన్నాయి, ముట్టుకుంటే తెగిపోతాయి. ఆ తర్వాత ముందు ఆ ఇన్స్ట్రుమెంట్స్ వాడి అది కొంచెం ఆగిన తర్వాత ఫిజికల్గా వెళ్ళి ఆపేస్తాడు. ఇది బాబా చెప్పినటువంటి ఒక మిషన్ స్టోరీ. దీన్ని మనకు బాబా ఎక్స్ప్లెయిన్ ఏం చేస్తున్నారంటే, ఈ మిషన్ మన జీవితం ఇష్టం వచ్చి తిరిగేస్తుంది. ముట్టుకుంటే కాలిపోయే లెవెల్లో సంస్కారాలు ఉన్నాయి మనకి. మనం ఆపలేం వాటిని, ఇంకా ముట్టుకుంటే కాలుతుంది, ఎవరు ముట్టుకుంటే వాళ్ళు కాలుతుంది, తెగిపోతుంది. సో అలాంటప్పుడు ఎక్స్పర్ట్ ఎవరు? సద్గురువు, భగవత్ సాక్షాత్కారం పొందినటువంటి ఆయనకు ఉన్నటువంటి అనంత జ్ఞానాన్ని, అనంత శక్తిని వాడి, ఇన్స్ట్రుమెంట్స్ దాన్ని వాడి ఆ మిషన్ ఆపి ఫిజికల్గా లాస్ట్ టైం పట్టుకుని మనం మిషన్ ఆపుతున్నారు. అది ఈ లాస్ట్ ఎనాలజీ. ఇలాంటి విషయం ఎప్పుడు కూడా బాబా ఇంతకుముందు కానీ ఇంతకుముందు తర్వాత కానీ చెప్పలేదని చెప్తున్నారు ఆయన.
Okay, so the topic I wanted to take up at the end here is something that I actually think is of a lot of importance and relevance to the community of Baba's lovers, And I try to, in America, when I talk on these things, I try to make a point of saying something about this. That has to do with Meher Baba's words and what we can take as authentic in Meher Baba's words. And those of you who have seen this book and who look through it will see there's... Can you hear? Is my thing not on? Did I not switch on? Okay, now it's on. Okay. There's a great deal in the back of the book about the sources of the manuscript and how the editing was done and things like that. And these are very technical subjects, to be sure, and most people will not be pursuing them themselves. But I do think that they matter, and I think that many Baba lovers actually do care about whether this is done well. That is to say, when something is presented to Baba's community as Baba's words, well, how do you know that they really are Baba's words? You know, there would be many motivations people would have over the centuries to present things as Baba's words that really were not. So, is it not coming through very well? Is this one better? So the Avatar Meher Baba Trust really is trying to set precedents in how to do this as best we can. And we're trying to do it through a whole branch of scholarship called textual scholarship, which entails research into all the sources of Baba's words. Let me open up the proper slideshow here, which has... to illustrate why this matters. I'm going to the slideshow segment 3 now, seg 3. Let's see. So here are just some of the images of some of the great scriptures of the past, the Guru Granth Sahib. The opening passage, this is to illustrate how the kind of impact that the words of the God-man, or the words regarded as from God, the kind of impact they have on civilizations over thousands of years. And this is true even in societies where very few people read. That's not the most important factor. Because even if people don't read themselves, there'll be a pandit or a swami or an imam who will read, or else they'll hear it in songs, or they'll get to know it because people will repeat parts of it. So I am convinced that the words of Meher Baba will have as much impact in the future as the Bhagavad Gita has had, or as the Gospels, or as the Quran, or the Vedas, or the Upanishads, or these other great scriptures of the past. I'm sure that they will have comparable impact. So when a new book is presented as containing Meher Baba's words, Baba lovers would have every right to ask, how do we know that these are Meher Baba's words? What is your evidence that they are? And here's one of the greatest of all the commentators on Indian scripture, Adi Shankara, who Baba actually indicated was a minor incarnation of the Avatar. And the opening of his famous work, the Brahma Sutra Bhashya, I just wanted to show this. The opening section, hence it's a, let's see, it's a, hence is to be undertaken thereafter a deliberation on Brahma. That's what the phrase means, right? Okay. I'm going to try a different unit. Okay. 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 And having said that, look at how many pages Shankara gives to that one little phrase, right? I mean, I'm showing you it's like 4 or 6 pages of interpretation of about 3 or 4 words of Sanskrit. Here's another example of the same sort of thing in another tradition, Christian tradition. This is one of the great figures of Christian, St. Augustine of Hippo, who was a six-plane saint, and one of the most influential of all the interpreters of the Christian Gospels. So here he begins meditation on the beginning of Genesis. He quotes the first phrase, "In the beginning you made heaven and the earth." And now he spends pages and pages commenting on that one little phrase. So the point I'm making is that in the past, one little phrase, one little word attributed to the avatar would have tremendous impact on the coming ages. And I think that will probably happen again. Every sentence of God speaks will be read and reread and studied to great depths. So it is a matter of some significance how that we be faithful to Baba, and when we publish Baba's books, that we take care to do it carefully. Try it again. Okay. Yeah, no problem. Is it working? Yeah. Okay, it's on. Ooh, it's definitely on. Okay. So here are some illustrations of questions that come up. What if somebody attributes a statement to Baba, but he didn't really say it? Or something that's more likely to happen. I'll give this particular example. One of Meher Baba's early disciples was named Bailey, and he knew Baba when he was a child, and he wrote diaries that include accounts of parts of Baba's life that very few other people ever talked about, no one else actually. And Bailey then lost his diaries at some point, and he rewrote them in the 1950s, 1960s, okay? So let's suppose we have an account from Bailey of something that Baba said in 1917. Well, Bailey is writing it in 1962, 40, 50 years later. So you can't simply assume that this is word for word what Baba said, now can you? No sensible person would ever think so. This is not to fault Bailey. I'm grateful to him. But he's remembering something that happened long before. And a lot of the things that will be published in magazines attributed to Meher Baba are actually like this. There might be some diary where someone wrote down a record of what Meher Baba said. And I'm not in any way criticizing the diarist, not at all. I'm thankful to them. But how do we, I mean, maybe the diarist was writing years later. Maybe the diarist, we know in some cases with Chanji, you can't do better than that he was writing down in English something that Baba said in Gujarati. So those weren't Baba's words, now were they? If Baba was speaking in Gujarati and the diary gives it in English, obviously those aren't Baba's words literally. I mean, I'm not trying to split hairs here, but I'm just raising these sorts of... There's a kind of critical awareness that the community of Meher Baba's lovers will eventually have to have. And that's why we're trying to do editions that are like this. Here are some other illustrations. Let me move to another page here. Is this the right one? Sorry, I have the wrong slide number here. Yeah, like in the case of the Tiffin lectures, actually. These were delivered by Meher Baba in 1926, 1927, and there have been little bits of them that have been published or incorporated into books meant for publication since then. First, K.J. Dastur, the editor of the Meher Message, who I mentioned earlier, published little bits of them in his publication, the Meher Message, over several years. Now, here's a problem there, is that we happen to know that Meher Baba was not happy with his editing. Baba said so. And since I've studied this closely, I've looked at these, and he would take something that was 5 pages long and turn it into 2 paragraphs, say. Or he would completely rewrite something Baba had said. Now, sometimes he did a good job, that's true, but it's not what Baba said at all. It was completely, thoroughly rewritten. So you need to know that, right? This isn't exactly Baba's words, even though it's presented as though it is Baba's words, right? You see the point I'm making? We're going to have a lot of this. We have Deshmukh incorporated some of this material into his Sparks of the Truth. Phyllis Frederick republished it. Francis Brabazon incorporated some of it into a biography, a volume not published yet. And Bal Kulturi incorporated a bunch of it into Lord Meher. So if you were to take the same Tiffin lecture passage and look at it in these 5 different versions, you wouldn't even recognize that it's the same passage a lot of times. It's been done so differently. Now, I'm not faulting these guys. I mean, look at this. Deshmukh, Phyllis Frederick, Francis Brabazon, Baba's Mandali. I'm not faulting them at all. But I am saying we need to have this additions done in the right way. That's the point I'm making, and I hope that this makes sense. This question really has come up a lot, like in the discourses. Nothing this extreme happened, but they were originally, Meher Baba's discourses. You know what I'm talking about, right? Those published 1940. Anyway, you know the discourses. But they were originally published in the Meher Baba Journal between 1938 and 1942. And those were collected and published in 5 volumes. You may have them here in the library archives at the Hyderabad Center. And then they got re-edited and republished again by Charles Purdom in 1955. And then they got re-edited another time by Don Stevens and published in 1967. And then they were re-edited another time by Erich and Balnatu and Flag Chris and published in 1987. So somebody might ask the question, if Meher Baba is God in human form, and these are the words of Meher Baba, why do they keep getting re-edited? Isn't that a natural question? And people will surely ask that question as time goes on. As a matter of fact, most of this, the 7th edition, not, because it was after Baba dropped the body, but all the rest of this was done with Baba's approval. So we have a bit of a complicated issue here about what Meher Baba's words actually are. In fact, a similar issue comes up with God Speaks, that it was originally published in 1955, but it was republished in 1973 with the text re-edited somewhat. You can compare the editions yourselves if you want. However, we know as a fact that Baba had asked for the book to be republished and re-edited. And he had it read back and had comments to make. And when I was in Australia a few years ago, I found a file, a whole folder showing that Baba wanted it re-edited another time by Francis Brabazon. And in fact, Baba was giving different points to go into the new edition of God Speaks, different points he wanted made. And Baba had certain criticisms of God Speaks. One place he said, the chapter on the fourth plane is a mess, and I'm going to have to write a whole new one. That's what Baba said about his own book. So, I mean, there are real questions about Baba's books and Baba's words that in the future humanity is going to have to deal with. There's no doubt about that. So that's the sort of a starting point from all of this. Now, but then let me also say that with most of these questions about different editions of Meher Baba's words, really speaking, the differences between most of the editions are small. And most people wouldn't care about it all that much. Literary people would notice them and take a lot of interest, but mostly other people would not. But this is a very interesting passage by Francis Brabazon on how Baba would dictate a message. This is the best description of this I have ever seen. And as you may know, Francis Brabazon had a lot to do with this. He was one of the primary editors of the Everything and the Nothing, and had lots of literary contact with Baba. He was Baba's poet. He was a very great poet. So here's what he said about it. It says, now this is in a book, and most of this is from a letter that Francis wrote to Robert Rouse. Baba dictated 3 new discourses for the book. This would be for Stay with God. Discourses by Baba. Francis describes the process. So this is Francis talking about Baba, right? He has given me 6 pages of original material. I, of course, with the aid of Erich, had to work it all out into English words. Erich and I spent 3 or 4 whole sessions with Baba on this, with me writing and rewriting and rewriting between sessions until Baba was completely satisfied. I have also been employed by Baba putting other material of his into English words. This experience has shown me, now this is, I think, one of the best statements of this I have ever seen. This experience has shown me how almost impossible it is, even with Erich interpreting Baba's gestures, and with Erich working with one, to get Baba's say down into English words. Writing down the words that Erich speaks from Baba's gestures does not get the real sense, because, first, to express them. Okay, that's the one statement I've ever found really describing how Baba would give out messages. And where Tiffin lectures are concerned, to me it fits perfectly with what we have. We have a final, a most worked on draft that's been typed up. It's not a final draft, but it's the most complete we have. But behind that, we have all these diary versions. And in some cases, we'll have a draft by Chanji that will have just a few notes in Gujarati. And then we'll have another draft by him. If that's all we had, we wouldn't even know what it meant. It's too incomplete to make sense of it. But then there'll be another rewrite by Chanji where he's written it out a little bit more completely in Gujarati or English. And then sometimes there'll be another draft where he's written it out in much more fluent and complete English. And sometimes there's a last written draft by him that's the best of all of them. So what it looks like is that Chanji was taking notes from Baba's dictation and would take them back and would work them up into a written text. And there's also a letter from Adi Kearani to Phyllis Frederick, which says that, about probably referring to the Tiffin lectures, that these were going to be given to K.J. Dastur, the editor of the Meher Message, for an editing into publishable form. But then K.J. Dastur left Baba, so the project was abandoned. So it seems that there was a whole literary project underway in connection with the Tiffin lectures that was going to result in a published book back in those days, the late 1920s, early 1930s. It certainly looks like that. And Baba must have known about it, and Baba must have approved of it, because nobody was doing anything in those days without Baba's full knowledge and approval, least of all Chanji. Okay, so you see, when we're talking about Baba's words, it's complex. You know, it's not as though Baba would just write something word for word. But then some people might go to the opposite extreme. Is this making sense to you all? I hope it is. I'm trying to explain these questions that are going to come up about Baba's words as time goes on, and about Tiffin lectures. People could go to the opposite extreme and say, we don't have any of Baba's words. Everything is written by somebody else. But that isn't really true either, because Baba himself gave these communications intending to communicate them to somebody. And in the case of the books we have, Baba reviewed them until he was satisfied with them, and he put his name on them in the end. If Baba didn't want the discourses to be attributed to him, he shouldn't have signed them. But he did. He had them published with his name as the author. So I think we can and should take these books as the words of Meher Baba, knowing what the story was. He was the silent avatar. If you want to say, what did Baba say? He didn't say anything. He was silent, actually. But out of that silence, he got these messages written up in ways that he was happy with and that he was willing to put his name onto. Okay, you want to? Okay, this is a good time. I hope you can remember all that.
He is saying that you are interested subject. Okay, Jai Baba. భగవంతుడు ప్రతిసారి వచ్చినసారి కూడా ఆయన మాటలు ఇచ్చారు. ఆ మాటల్ని వాటి ఇంపాక్ట్ మానవాళి మీద ఖచ్చితంగా ఉంది. ఆదిశంకరాచార్యుడు మినీ అవతారం వచ్చినప్పుడు కానీ, లేకపోతే తర్వాత ఇంకొకసారి క్రిస్టియన్ దాంట్లో అగస్టిన్ రాసినప్పుడు కానీ, ఎప్పుడైనా సరే వాటి గీత కానీ ఇంకోటి కానీ దాని యొక్క ఇంపాక్ట్ ఉంటుంది, ఆ మాటలకు విలువ ఉంటుంది అనే విషయం మీద చర్చిస్తూ, ఈ పుస్తకం అసలు దీది బాబా చెప్పిన మాటల, అవతార్ మెహర్ బాబా పర్పెక్చువల్ చారిటబుల్ ట్రస్ట్ తీసుకున్నటువంటి ప్రాజెక్ట్ ఇది. ఈ పుస్తకంలో జరిగినటువంటివి ఎక్కడి నుంచి అయితే మనం తీసుకున్నామో ఆ సబ్జెక్ట్స్ గురించి, అంటే ఇంతవరకు బాబా లిటరేచర్ ఏదైతే పబ్లిష్ అయిందో ఆ పబ్లిష్ అయినటువంటి విధానాన్ని ఒకసారి కనుక మనం అర్థం చేసుకుంటే కనుక అదే విధానం ఇక్కడ కూడా ఉంది, కాబట్టి ఈ బుక్ కూడా బాబా చెప్పిన మాటలే అని చెప్పడానికి ప్రయత్నం చేస్తున్నటువంటి ఆయన ప్రజెంటేషన్. సరే, దీంట్లో ప్రాసెస్లో ఏంటంటే బాబా చెప్పినప్పుడు ఇది ఇంతకంటే మనకు చాలా ఈజీగా చెప్పుకోవాలంటే కనుక మనం బియాండ్ వర్డ్స్ సినిమా అందరం చూసాం. మనం బాబా చెప్పినటువంటి ప్రతి మాటని కూడా ఈరిచ్ చెప్పినప్పుడు కాదంటే కాదు, చాలాసార్లు కష్టపడాల్సి వచ్చింది ఈరిచ్కి ఆ మాటని మార్చి 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 గుర్తున్నా. అండ్ బియాండ్ వర్డ్స్ అయితే చాలా క్లియర్గా ఉంది. ఎంతమంది కూడా ఉండొచ్చు కానీ, బట్ ఇంతకుముందు పబ్లిక్ ప్రోగ్రామ్స్ బాబా ఆల్రెడీ ప్రిపేర్ అవ్వడం ఏదో ఉండింది, ఇక్కడేమో డైరెక్ట్గా ఇచ్చారు కాబట్టి చాలాసార్లు మార్చారు. కాదు, నో అగైన్ అలా చెప్పారు. సో ఈ పద్ధతిలో అంటే బాబా ఇచ్చినటువంటి మాటల్ని ఒక ట్రాన్స్లేషన్ చేస్తే కనుక, నేను ఇంగ్లీష్లో చెప్తే కనుక మీకు తెలుగులో చెప్తే దాన్ని మారిపోతుంది. మారిపోతే మొదట లెక్చర్ ఇచ్చిన తను అది చూసి ఇది కాదయ్యా మార్చు, ఎందుకంటే బాబా ఇచ్చిన లాంగ్వేజ్ సైన్స్ ద్వారా ఇచ్చినటువంటిది. మాట చెప్పారు, లేకపోతే రాసి చూపించారు, ఏదో మొత్తానికి సైలెన్స్లో ఇచ్చినటువంటి మాటల్ని దాన్ని ఈరిచ్కి ఇచ్చారు. అంటే మాట్లాడడం వచ్చి ట్రాన్స్లేట్ చేయడం వచ్చినటువంటి వ్యక్తి ఇంకొక వ్యక్తికి, చాంజీ ఆ సమయంలో. ఈ పుస్తకంలో జరిగినటువంటి విషయం ఏమైందంటే, గాడ్ స్పీక్స్ కూడా ఒకసారి పబ్లిష్ అయింది, తర్వాత మళ్ళీ ఎడిట్ అయింది. దాంట్లో మనం ఒకసారి స్కానింగ్ ప్రాజెక్ట్ హైదరాబాద్ నుంచి వెళ్ళాము. దాంట్లో బాబా రాసినటువంటి పెన్సిల్ రాసినటువంటి మాటలు ఉన్నాయి, బాబా చెప్పి వ్రాయించినవి కరెక్షన్స్ గురించి. అంటే ఒక పుస్తకం చెప్పిన తర్వాత బాబా దాన్ని మార్పడానికి అది పూర్తిగా దాంట్లో వచ్చేంత వరకు కూడా ప్రయత్నం చేసేవారు బాబా. అదే మెథడాలజీ ఇక్కడ కూడా ఫాలో అయ్యారు. ఈ చాంజీ ఇచ్చినటువంటి డైరీ అప్పుడు రాసుకున్నారు ఆయన. రాసుకున్న తర్వాత మళ్ళీ వీళ్ళకి దొరికినటువంటి కాగితాల గురించి చెప్తున్నారు. చేస్తే కనుక కన్సాలిడేట్ డైరీ ఒకటి ఉంది, 4-5 మండలి వాళ్ళు కలిసి రాసింది. దాన్ని మాడిఫై చేశారు, మళ్ళీ మార్చారు, ఒకసారి టైప్ వచ్చింది. అంటే మనం డెఫినెట్గా అర్థం చేసుకుని బాబా సమయంలో ఉన్నారు, ఇది కూడా గుర్తుంచుకోవాల్సిన మాట. బాబా సమయంలో ఉన్నారు కాబట్టి వీళ్ళు బాబాకు చూపించినా ఉండాలి. ఎందుకంటే ఇది ఆల్రెడీ పుస్తకం పబ్లిష్ చేద్దాం అన్నటువంటి ఉద్దేశంతోనే తయారైనటువంటి పుస్తకం ఇది. ఎందుకంటే ఆ బుక్ను ఫస్ట్ చేసినటువంటిది ఆల్రెడీ ఉంది అది. కాబట్టి ఇది దీంట్లో బాబా ఆ సమయంలో మనకి డిఫరెంట్ మ్యాగజైన్స్ కూడా మెసేజ్ ఇచ్చేవారు బాబా. ఆ మెసేజ్ సంబంధించినటువంటిది విషయాలన్నీ కూడా క్రోడీకరించి పబ్లిష్ చేయడానికి పనికొచ్చేటట్టుగా తయారు చేసిన మోడిఫికేషన్స్ తప్ప ఇవన్నీ కూడా బాబా కన్సెంట్తో బాబాతో ఉన్నప్పుడు వచ్చినటువంటి మాటలు అని చెప్తున్నారు.
When should we stop? For like a few minutes? Okay. So, given this state of affairs, what we are doing at the Avatar Meher Baba Trust is to try to produce what are called critical editions, which I've mentioned already. And these are the characteristics of them. This is editions of things that haven't been published before, right? Because, like, let's suppose you were to say, well, we have no idea what Baba said in the Tiffin lectures. Well, then does no one ever publish it? I mean, would it really be worth it never to know some of the things we've seen today? Do you want to never have those made available to humanity? I mean, obviously Baba did communicate, and we know a lot of what he did have to say. So how to deal with this? And this is the approach we're using for a critical edition. These are the characteristics of these editions. They're based on an exhaustive study of all relevant sources, documentary and other. Other means, like, let's suppose there's some living person who remembers something relevant to this, or anything else that could give information. That's the first thing. Study of all relevant sources. 2, editorial principles that are consistent and objective, and editorial practices attuned to the kind of editing Baba wanted. Okay, I'll say more about that in a second. And 3rd, this is equally important, transparency in these matters through instruments of disclosure within the edition itself. That is, letting the community of Baba's lovers know everything. So the Baba's lovers can, if they don't like it, can say so. Like they could say, well, you really completely misunderstood this. Or you should never have published this at all. Or whatever people think. It should be completely out in the open, permanently. I feel that most strongly. And that's a critical condition of this, so that people can have their say. So going through these individually, all relevant sources need to be located and studied. These include not only sources for the text itself, but relevant historical and biographical background material. So the history of the time, like let's suppose you have a diary from some member of the Mandali. Well, you try to learn what you can about that Mandali member. Was he accurate? Was he fastidious? Was he honest? Was he there? He's writing what Baba said on a certain occasion. Was he actually there at the time? You know, when did he write it? All this sort of thing. That's the first imperative about research. Second, editorial principles need to be clear, consistent, and comparatively objective. Editorial practice needs to attune itself to the kind of editing Meher Baba wanted. This can be ascertained, A, by his comments on the subject, and B, by the evidence of how he actually got his books edited during his lifetime. For example, Baba asked Francis Brabazon to re-edit God Speaks. Okay, Francis never finished, but we do have about 20 pages that he did, and we have an indication that Baba liked it. Okay, there's evidence of the kind of editing Baba wanted in that case. And the third principle, transparency in these matters through instruments of disclosure within the edition itself. Readers need a way of learning about textual sources and editorial practices so that they can assess for themselves the authenticity of the text. This can be compared to honest business practices that include making financial information public and conducting audits. So the thing is that most people are not literary scholars and don't have the kind of interest that will lead them to do this themselves. In the same way that most people are not auditors, right? Nonetheless, you do have people who are professional auditors who make such assessments and who, make their results public. And in the same way in the Baba world, there will be people who will study the sources and check it and criticize the editions that are published. And people can hear about this. This should be how things are conducted within the Baba world. The Baba community has a very important role to play in this by, saying, well, we don't like this, or we do like this, or how do you know this? Those sorts of questions. All of this should happen in the open and honestly, with no concealment at all. And I know our time is almost up, but let me read just one or two things Baba said about how his words should be edited. Now, this is from the Combined Diary, and he may even have been referring to the Tiffin lectures or Infinite Intelligence. Those are the two most likely candidates, because those things had been dictated by him not long before. Here's what he said. He said, "My explanations may be recomposed in forceful and stylish language, but the spirit and meaning must remain unchanged." So Baba clearly, I'll read that again. My explanations may be recomposed in forceful and stylish language, but the spirit and meaning must remain unchanged. So Baba clearly was indicating that the records of his discourses could be rewritten. And speaking as a literary guy, they need to be. I mean, these aren't finished literary works at all. These are rough notes. And they need to be rewritten so that they read better. And so I've been doing that. That's been done with the Tiffin lectures, just to be upfront. But the spirit and meaning must remain unchanged. So I could talk for hours about this. This has been my meditation for the last 20 years. But this is to let you know what Baba indicated he wanted. And here's another such indication. In the revised edition of God Speaks, that is the one that Francis Brabazon was supposed to do, the present introduction is to be A, that's the one that was already done for God Speaks, and another introduction, B, is to be written by Francis, in which he will say that Meher Baba directed him to re-edit God Speaks without changing the facts. It's the same basic idea, right? Like there. So what are we at? 4 o'clock. So, do we want to have anybody summarize what I just said? Or, yeah. And maybe we could have questions afterwards, or what do you think? Should we just end then, or what?
Yeah. No, you can pick up questions right now.
Why don't you do this?
Let me finish this. See, ఇక్కడ ఇంకా ఫర్దర్గా కంటిన్యూ చేస్తూ ఎడిటోరియల్ చేసినప్పుడు తీసుకున్నటువంటి జాగ్రత్తలు రైట్ ఈ పుస్తకం తయారు చేసేటప్పుడు తీసుకున్నటువంటి జాగ్రత్తలు చెప్తున్నారు. ఒకటి మటుకు అంటే ఆయన చెప్పిన మాట కాకుండా కూడా వేరే ఇంటర్నేషనల్ స్టాండర్డ్స్ ఉన్న పుస్తకాలతో కంపేర్ చేస్తే కనుక దీంట్లో రాసినటువంటిది అయితే కనుక టోటల్గా చాలా అంటే అన్ని స్టాండర్డ్స్ ఒక మంచి పుస్తకానికి ఉండవలసిన స్టాండర్డ్స్ అన్ని మెయింటైన్ చేశారు. నా పర్సనల్ ఒపీనియన్ అది. అది కాకుండా ఆయన ఏం చేశారంటే 3 విధాలుగా చెప్పాలి. ఎందుకంటే ఈ పుస్తకం తయారు చేసినప్పుడు ఎక్స్టెన్సివ్గా దాని గురించి పుట్టుపూర్వత్వాలు తెలుసుకోవాలి, ఆ పని చేశారు. ఆ తర్వాత ఎడిట్ చేసేటప్పుడు ఒక స్టాండర్డ్స్ మెయింటైన్ చేయాల్సి వస్తుంది. కన్సిస్టెన్సీ అనేది చాలా ఇంపార్టెంట్. ముందు ఒక మాట, తర్వాత ఒక మాట, అప్పుడు అలా అన్నాను ఇప్పుడు విన్నాను కాకుండా ఒక పద్ధతి, దాని గురించి రాయడము. ఆ తర్వాత మేము ఈ మాటల్ని ఇలా అనుకుని ఇలా రాసాము ట్రాన్స్పరెంట్గా, అంటే మీరు నేను రేపొద్దున క్వశ్చన్ చేయడానికి పనికొచ్చేటట్టుగా. దాని ఉద్దేశము ఎవరు పడితే వాళ్ళు ఇంటర్ప్రిట్ చేద్దాం ఉద్దేశం కాదు. అంటే పూర్తిగా అందరికీ బయటకి తెలిసి ఉండేటట్టుగా ఉండాలి అని చెప్పి ఈ 3 స్టాండర్డ్స్ మెయింటైన్ చేసి ఏ పుస్తకాన్ని రాస్తారు, ప్రతి పుస్తకానికి స్టాండర్డ్గా రాసుకుంటారు. ప్రతి దానికి కూడా ఒక పని చేసేటప్పుడు ప్రతి దానికి ఒక స్టాండర్డ్ ఉంటుంది. ఆ స్టాండర్డ్ ఇక్కడ కూడా అప్లై చేసాము. ఆ తర్వాత అంతకంటే చాలా మంచి విషయం ఏం జరిగిందంటే, బాబా ఉన్నప్పుడు ఏ విధంగా అయితే పుస్తకాలు తయారయ్తున్నాయో అదే విధంగా ఈ పుస్తకం కూడా తయారైంది. పనికి వచ్చేటప్పుడు తయారు చేసేటప్పుడు మనకి బాగా క్లియర్గా కావాలంటే ఇక్కడ చెప్పలేనటువంటి విషయం ఇంకోటి మనకు అందరికి తెలిసిన విషయం కాబట్టి ఒకసారి ఇందాక కోట్ చేస్తున్నాను. వేఫేరర్స్ పుస్తకం ప్రింట్ అయినప్పుడు పరిస్థితి గాడ్ స్పీక్ సంగతి తెలియదు, కానీ వేఫేరర్స్ వెళ్తే మళ్ళీ చూస్తే కనుక మనకు క్లియర్గా తెలుస్తుంది. ఆ టైప్ చేసి తీసుకురావడం, మళ్ళీ మణి గారు మళ్ళీ ఆయన పోయి లెటర్ ప్రెస్ తీసుకోవడం, మళ్ళీ బాబాకు చూపించడం. అంటే ప్రతి మాట ఆ పుస్తకం చదివిన ప్రతిసారి కూడా ఆథర్ చాలా ఫీల్ అయిపోతుంటాడు, ఇది మా అమ్మాయి అండి చాలా బాగుందని, ఈ పుస్తకం తన అమ్మాయి ఎందుకంటే బాబా ప్రతి అక్షరం చూశారని చెప్పేసి. ఇక్కడ కూడా అలాంటి పరిస్థితి ఉంది అని చెప్తున్నారు ఆయన, ఎందుకంటే బాబా ఉన్న సందర్భంలో తయారైంది పుస్తకం. తర్వాత షార్ట్ కట్స్ ఏవి లేకుండా బాబా ఏ విధంగా గాడ్ స్పీక్స్ ఫోకస్ చేసి ఇలా చేంజ్ చేస్తే అదే విధంగా ఇక్కడ కూడా జరిగింది కాబట్టి చెప్తున్నారు. ఇప్పుడు ఆయన ఈ పుస్తకానికి సంబంధించినందుకు దీనికి సంబంధించినంత వరకు ఏమైనా ఉంటే కానీ క్వశ్చన్స్ ఉంటే తీసుకుంటా అన్నారు. కానీ అంతకంటే మనందరి తరఫు నుంచి 2 రిక్వెస్ట్లు ఐ వాంట్ టు మేక్ టు వార్డ్ అవుట్ ఆఫ్ ది కన్సాలిడేషన్. They're preparing questions. So be ready.
Let me show one more thing before we have questions. There's one last thing I want to show.
ఇంకోటి చూపిస్తారట. క్వశ్చన్స్ ఏమైనా ఉంటే దీనికి సంబంధించిన ప్రిపేర్ చేసుకుంటే కనుక ఈజ్ రెడీ టు టేక్ ది క్వశ్చన్స్ ఫర్ ఒక 10-15 నిమిషాలు స్పెండ్ చేద్దాం దాని మీద. అది కాకుండా ఇప్పుడు ఏంటంటే ఇప్పుడు వచ్చినటువంటి కన్సల్టేషన్ ఇంకొక స్లైడ్లో చూపిస్తున్నారు, ఆ తర్వాత మీ తప్పని చేద్దాం.
Okay. There's just one last thing I want to show on the subject of transparency and public disclosure of all of this. And that is, I mean, I've talked very, very briefly on a very big subject, as you can well imagine. But in the Trust website, we've tried to create tools for people to use, anyone interested in this. So this is part of the Trust website, right? Razu played a big role in doing this, and you have firm involved, is that right? Yeah, and Paul Liberon and others have done this. So here's Tiffin lectures, and let me show you the endnotes. I mean, some people might ask, why do you have all this stuff in the back of the book? It's boring. Brendan, you said you had a low threshold for boring. I think if you get to the second word, that will be farther than I would expect. Because these endnotes might seem to be the most boring thing in the world. But in fact, what they do is whenever there is a question about what the meaning of the text was or what the right wording of the text was, it gives all the information about it. So let me just illustrate this. This is in the back of the book. So let me go to this one. This is a good monster. Okay, so here are like some of the notes. I'm going to read a little bit just to show you how you can torture yourself if you want to. Material like this. Okay. Let me see, which is a good one. Okay, I'll read number 5. Let me expand it a little more because it's a little too small. Now I can't see it all. I can't move it to the left. Okay, let me shrink it again. Okay, here it says, the text, now these are all abbreviations of the names of manuscripts. The manuscripts are listed elsewhere. The text of TLDFF and so forth says that the 12 of the circle includes 1 chargeman, 4 heads, 1 goes off. Chanji's diary 57, page 23 reads, 1 chargeman, 4 heads, 2 heads, 1 goes. Chanji's diary 62, identically. Chanji 62 contains the same information as does this manuscript. Only TTLFF, and of course this one, gives the aberrant reading, 1 chargement, 4 head, 2 heads, 1 goes off. Okay, so this is giving all the different forms that the text takes. And this is another feature which this contains. But I can't find my cursor. Oh yeah, here it is. If you click on it, you see, I don't know, can you see the cursor there? Yeah, there's the cursor. If you click on it, you can actually go right to the source. It's not showing up at the moment, but it will or should. Do I have to click again? Yeah, here it is. Okay. So what I'm trying to say is, for people who want to check on the edition, all the endnotes are right on the web, and through these links, you can see the original manuscripts. So we've tried to be, this is another mechanism of transparency. Anyone who wants to can go and examine all the editing through all the endnotes. There are many, many other tools like this. So the attempt is to be completely upfront with the public and with Baba's lovers about how his words have been edited. Okay, that's what I wanted to say.
గ్రేట్, చాలా పెద్ద విషయం, చాలా పెద్ద విషయం. పుస్తకానికి సంబంధించిన వరకు ఇది ఎక్కడి నుంచి చేసేసారు, వాడు సొంతంగా రాసేసారా? ఎందుకంటే బాబా పర్మిషన్ ఇచ్చారు. ఏం పర్మిషన్ ఇచ్చారు? నేను చెప్పినటువంటి మాటల్ని ఎంతవరకు అయితే ఆ మాటలో ఉన్నటువంటి భావం పాడు చేయకుండా, దాంట్లో ఉన్నటువంటి శక్తిని తీయకుండా దాన్ని అందంగా రాసుకోవచ్చు అన్నారు. ఈ మాట ఒక్కదాన్ని వాడుకుని, ఈ రూల్ ఒక్కదాన్ని వాడుకుని ఏదో చేసేస్తారేమని చెప్పి మనం భయపడక్కర్లేదు. ఈ పుస్తకం సందర్భంగా ఏం చేశారంటే, ఇక్కడ హైదరాబాద్ నుంచే రమణయ్యరాజు గారు ఈ వెబ్సైట్ బాబా సెంటర్ సంబంధించినటువంటి ట్రస్ట్ సంబంధించిన వెబ్సైట్ తయారు చేశారు ఇక్కడ నుంచే. దాంట్లో ఈ పని చేశారు. ఈ పుస్తకానికి సంబంధించినట్టు ఒక పేజీలో కనుక చూస్తే క్లిక్ చేస్తే చివరికి ఎక్కడికి వెళ్తామంటే ఒరిజినల్గా ఉన్నటువంటి ఆ టైప్డ్ డైరీకి వెళ్తాం. దీంట్లో అంటే అక్కడ మార్చారా చదువుకోవడానికి అంటే మనకు ఒకసారి మధ్యలో చెప్పినటువంటి అర్థం కాకపోవచ్చు, డైరెక్ట్గా అక్కడికి వెళ్ళడానికి అవకాశం ఉంది మనకి. కాబట్టి ఇదంతా సైట్లో ఉంది. ఈ పుస్తకం అంటే మామూలు పుస్తకం రావడానికి చాలా కష్టంగా ఉంటుంది. ఇలాంటి పుస్తకం రావాలంటే కనుక పూర్తిగా వెతికి దానికి ఉన్నటువంటి కష్టం ఇంకా చెప్పేది కాదు, అంత కష్టమైన విషయం. సరే, బిఫోర్ వి కంక్లూడ్, క్వశ్చన్స్ ఏమైనా ఉంటే లేడీస్ సైడ్ నుంచి పొద్దున్న ఎవరు మాట్లాడలేదు, లేడీస్ సైడ్ నుంచి పుస్తకం గురించి కానీ దానికి సంబంధించినటువంటి విషయం వరకే డిస్కషన్ ఆపితే కనుక, లేకపోతే ఎక్కడికో వెళ్తే ఎక్కడికో వెళ్ళిపోతాం మనం. ఇంకా ఏమైనా ఉంటే విషయాలు ఉంటే కనుక ఒక 5 నిమిషాలు. గో హెడ్, షూట్.
What can you briefly tell us about the contribution of Meherwan Jasawala in the Tiffin lectures editing process?
The contribution of Meherwan Jasawala in this editing process. You know Meherwan Jasawala, Erich's brother. He died a year and a half ago, was it? And he's been absolutely crucial person in this whole undertaking of editing this new material that came to light. He was the one who Erich showed all this material to when it was first found in 1969, 1970. Erich showed it to his brother and showed it to him again when he came to live at Mirzad. And Meherwan was the one who brought it to the publication committee and worked on this material. Actually, with Infinite Intelligence, he worked on it for a year or two on his own, and then I worked with him for several years on it all. He didn't have quite as much to do with Tiffin lectures, because by that time, the time we got to it, he was too weak. His health wasn't up to it. I would, whenever I could, ask questions of anything that seemed important. For example, Mirwan was the one who felt that for every diagram, we should have a key to the diagram on a facing page that would contain one of the source diagrams, for example. That was his input. So he had a lot of input. He didn't do so much of the actual editing because his health wasn't up to it anymore.
ఈ పుస్తకంలో కానీ మేర్వాన్ జస్సావాలా గారి పాత్ర ఏంటి అని ఫని అడిగారు. దానికి చాలా ప్రధానమైనటువంటి పాత్ర ఉంది ఆయన ఇరిచ్ బ్రదర్ అయినా ఈ పుస్తకం తయారు చేయడంలో. కానీ ఇంతకుముందు ఇన్ఫినిట్ ఇంటెలిజెన్స్లో లాగా ప్రతి పేజీకి పనిచేశారు ఆయన. కానీ ఈ పుస్తకం తయారు చేసే సమయానికి ఆయనకి వృద్ధాప్యం నుంచి ఆయన పార్టిసిపేట్ చేయలేపారు. కానీ ప్రతి కీ డిస్కషన్లో కూడా ఆయన ఉంది. ఒక ఫిగర్, ఒక బొమ్మ తయారు చేయడం కానీ, బొమ్మకు కావాలంటే కీ నోట్ కావాలి ఇలా ఉండాలని చెప్పడం కానీ, లేదా ఈయన పోయి క్వశ్చన్స్ వస్తే వాటికి ప్రాపర్గా ఆన్సర్ చేయడం కానీ. కాబట్టి ఆయన యొక్క పాత్ర మటుకు చాలా ప్రాముఖ్యంగా ఉందని చెప్తున్నారు.
సార్ టెక్స్ట్ బుక్ మీకు ఇచ్చాను, టిఫిన్ లెక్చర్స్ టెక్స్ట్ బుక్ మీ దగ్గర అక్కడ ఉందనుకుంటా. దానిలో 230 పేజ్ అండి. ఇన్ ద 230 పేజ్ ఇట్ ఈస్ మెన్షన్, కైండ్లీ సీ దట్ పేజ్ 230. Paramatma, what's that question? Leher Vim, and then he.
Paramatma, for his part, you mean that sentence?
Yeah.
Paramatma, for his part, has no knowledge of his own existence.
Yeah. And here it is mentioned, Paramatma becomes Jivatma, and then passes through evolution, reincarnation and involution. But to my understanding, as per given by Dr. Ivy Juice,
Yes.
as she mentioned in her How a Master Works, she mentioned very clearly, Avatar never passes through evolution, reincarnation and involution. It is always direct descent of God in human form. And even before creation, when Avatar puts that question, who am I? Avatar got answer instantaneously. The moment the question was put, the answer came to him instantaneously, even before the creation itself. So, if that is the case, how can we mention here that Paramatma becomes Jivatma and passes through evolution, reincarnation and involution?
Why don't I get the page up so that people can see what we're talking about? Page 230, is it? Yeah, is that it? Yeah, well, it isn't saying that Avatar does that, it says Paramatma does it. So, you're quoting Ivy Deuce as saying that the Avatar never passes through evolution, reincarnation. Well, this doesn't say anything about the Avatar.
But what I mean to say, the individual soul becomes Jivatma.
Yeah.
The individual soul, because it is self-unconscious, it is not conscious of itself, but still it ejects consciousness, and that consciousness locked to worldly life-binding samskaras or karmas, then it becomes Jivatma. Not Paramatma by himself. Paramatma travels along with Jivatma in a combined way, two spirits in one body. We are two spirits in one body. One is Jivatma, the other one is Paramatma, and that Paramatma is Avatar.
Well, Paramatma is not necessarily Avatar. I think what he means to be using Paramatma to be referring to God as the self of selves. So Paramatma becomes Jivatma when God, the ocean, becomes the drop, who in reality is one with the totality of the ocean. So Paramatma becomes Jivatma in that sense, because Jivatma has the entirety of God within itself.
Conscious Paramatma existed only before the Vim. Once the Vim came, Paramatma instantaneously realized that he is Paramatma, he is Avatar, he is Parvartikar, And what all other
Well,
words?
Baba seems to be using, one of the questions that comes up is that Baba would use his terminology differently as the years went on. So at this time, it seems to me that he is referring to Paramatma as God, and God becomes the Jivatma when God gets enclosed within a bubble. Now, this may not be the use of this language that you see in later books, but when you deal with this early material, Baba would use these terms differently, and the
Still,
same exact definitions don't apply. And when it comes to like avatar, for example, Baba wasn't talking about the avatar in those days. In fact, he would characterize himself as a Sadguru. So a lot of the questions that I found that you raise have a lot to do with terms and terminology. But the terminology changed as the years went by.
But that won't put us any restriction, because even for a sparrow or a parrot or a dog or donkey, Avatar Meher Baba referred to these different individualized souls as God in God Speaks book. Throughout the text.
I'm not understanding. What did you say?
No, I will.
We better, maybe we could continue some of this later because this is an in-depth conversation.
Okay. My second question is, Baba mentioned that mastery in servitude. This is the slogan.
Is what?
Mastery in servitude. We have a slogan given by Baba when he was perfect master in Manjali. Right? Baba gave this slogan to all of us.
Yeah.
As a perfect master, when he was declared to few people that he was perfect master, then he mentioned it as a mastery in servitude. But subsequently, at several other stages later on, Baba mentioned that he is God in human form and he is God man, he is avatar.
Yeah.
So in that case, the same slogan, is it not better to infer as mastery in eternal servitude?
But
Eternal.
what does that have to do with Tiffin lectures?
See, no. Let us not try to modify whatever Baba said. Let us forget about that. Let us restrict our discussion to Paramatma, and even same 230 page, what you are referring. Now Balaji is showing me it doesn't matter anything. See, even Paramatma becomes Jivatma. Like it is like in the Paramatmaness, there is nothing which disturbs him. Either you call by this name or by that name, right, sir? And if you have specific this discussion, like I have a request to ward and publication committee of the trust will make a request them to have a standardized structured definition for each word, glossary kind of thing. That will ask them, request them separately. And as far as the eternal master in servitude, let us forget, sir. Let us not discuss about that, because Baba has given something, given. That's it. Once for all, done. It is
also it doesn't come up in Tiffin lectures.
But that's why I picked up the mic.
It's not relevant to that.
Right, sir. Let us close this. This is your.
No, there are a lot of deep questions in all of this, and they have to. There are many questions that will come up connected with Baba's use of words and terms. And there was a lot of change that happened in the way Baba did use words and terms, especially between the 1920s. I mentioned earlier, in 1931, there was a huge change in Baba's messages and discourses. One of the biggest changes was he changed his language a great deal. Are there other questions?
Yeah. Ladies, I think they have some question. Any question? పంపించాం అది నా వాళ్ళు కాదు, అక్కడ ఒక ఆయన కూర్చున్నారు, ఆయన పంపించారు. సరే, అయితే నో క్వశ్చన్స్.
Okay.
Yeah.
Are we done?
Yeah, will be. Yeah. Shall we call it a day? Shall we continue with the rest of the procedure? Yeah. Chalo.
Did you want to ask something?
Yeah, this Prasad, he is right person. He is not technical man. He is right person. He has prepared it. Ask him. Go to his office. He is right next to you. Right, sir. To have this kind of full session, on behalf of Baba Lovers of Hyderabad and Secunderabad, we wanted to deeply express our gratitude to Dr. Ward Parks.
Thank you.
And we also should thank Avatar Meher Baba Perpetual Charitable Trust, who has facilitated all this kind of thing. Like, they have archived things, kept things ready. And then, of course, personally, we all like Meherwan Jesewala, so I wish that everyone should also give him a round of applause to the other friend, like, Ward Park. And there are, as a final note, there are two, three requests are there. We wish that we participate more in the next projects from Hyderabad. We have a concrete request to Dr. Ward Parks, representing the trust publication committee. They are going to publish. They're working on another important book, that's Premashram. The question was related to that Premashram. The other gentleman was writing this. So he has shared some of we have discussed yesterday, and today we have discussed about those Premashram. This in advanced stage of editing, right, sir? Premashram book. And again we will ask Word Parks to be there when that book is published, and we wanted more participation on that one from Hyderabad. And in preparation of the book, not reading the book afterwards. And on that count, we wanted to what you call feel send all our best wishes for the team to work. It's a really tough job, I tell you. There is a small sentence written or a line is drawn, and you have to infer. And it's very difficult. And like Sridhar was asking, the best thing is the moment you go back and see those things, it's mind blowing that the kind of work already this book has brought to us, the way it has brought to us. So same kind of exercise is happening with the Premashram. With this, we wanted to finally, and beginning, we wanted to thank our beloved Avatar Meher Baba, who has given us this kind of infrastructure here and here and here and here to make this possible. Really, let us all stand and give him a standing ovation to our beloved Avatar Meher Baba and participate in prayers and Aarti. Baba ki let us all join the prayers, English prayers.
Avatar Meher Baba ki jai. O Parvardigar, the preserver and protector of all, you are without beginning and without end, non-dual, beyond comparison, and none can measure you. You are without color, without expression, without form, and without attributes. You are unlimited and unfathomable, beyond imagination and conception, eternal and imperishable. You are indivisible, and none can see you but with eyes divine. You always were, you always are, and you always will be. You are everywhere, you are in everything, and you are also beyond everywhere and beyond everything. You are in the firmament and in the depths. You are manifest and unmanifest, on all planes and beyond all planes. You are in the three worlds and also beyond the three worlds. You are imperceptible and independent. You are the Creator, the Lord of Lords, the knower of all minds and hearts. You are omnipotent and omnipresent. You are knowledge infinite, power infinite, and bliss infinite. You are the ocean of knowledge, all-knowing, infinitely knowing, the knower of the past, the present, and the future, and you are knowledge itself. You are all merciful and eternally benevolent. You are the soul of souls, the one with infinite attributes. You are the Trinity of truth, knowledge, and bliss. You are the source of truth, the ocean of love. You are the ancient one, the highest of the high. You are Prabhu and Parmeshwar. You are the beyond God and the beyond God also. You are Parabrahma, Allah, Ilahi, Yazdan, Ahura Mazda, and God the Beloved. You are named Izzat, the only one worthy of worship. We repent, O God, most merciful, for all our sins, for every thought that was false or unjust or unclean, for every word spoken that ought not to have been spoken, for every deed done that ought not to have been done. We repent for every deed and word and thought inspired by selfishness, and for every deed and word and thought inspired by hatred. We repent most specially for every lustful thought and every lustful action, for every lie, for all hypocrisy, for every promise given but not fulfilled, and for all slander and backbiting. Most specially also, we repent for every action that has brought ruin to others, for every word and deed that has given others pain, and for every wish that pain should be for others. In your unbounded mercy, we ask you to forgive us, O God, for all these sins committed by us, and to forgive us for our constant failures to think and speak and act according to your will. Beloved God, help us all to love you more and more, and more and more, and still yet more, till we become worthy of union with you, and help us all to hold fast to Baba's Daman till the very end. Avatar Meher Baba Ki Jai.
देवादिदेवा प्रेम स्वभावा प्रभो मेहर बाबा प्रियतमा मन सुहारति दे प्रियतमा मन सुहारति दे देवादिदेवा प्रेम स्वभावा प्रभो मेहर बाबा प्रियतमा मन सुहारति दे प्रियतमा मन सुहारति दे प्रेम ज्योति मा हृदि వెలిగించు काम क्रोध मूल मदि तొలగించు प्रेम ज्योति मा हृदि వెలిగించు काम क्रोध मूल मदि తొలగించు दामनु వీడక నిన్ను ప్రేమించు దామను వీడక నిన్ను ప్రేమించు మము కరుణించవయా ప్రియతమా మనసు హారతి దే ప్రియతమా మనసు హారతి దే నీ దివ్య నామమే మదిని స్మరించు నీ దివ్య రూపమే హృది తిలకించు నీ దివ్య నామమే మదిని స్మరించు నీ దివ్య రూపమే హృది తిలకించు నీ దివ్య పదములే ఆరాధించు నీ దివ్య పదములే ఆరాధించు మము కరుణించవయా ప్రియతమా మనసు హారతిదే ప్రియతమా మనసు హారతిదే అహంకారము ఆరతి కాగా అహంకారము ఆరతి కాగా ఇహమే పరమై ప్రకాశించగా ఇహమే పరమై ప్రకాశించగా పాహి శరణు సాయుజ్యము పొందగా పాహి శరణు సాయుజ్యము పొందగా మము కరుణించవయా ప్రియతమా మనసు హారతిదే ప్రియతమా మనసు హారతిదే దేవాది దేవా ప్రేమ స్వభావా ప్రభో మెహర్ బాబా ప్రియతమా మనసు హారతిదే ప్రియతమా మనసు హారతిదే अवतार मेहर बाबा की जय अवतार मेहर बाबा की जय अवतार मेहर बाबा की जय।